Ayo, who is that dude? Oh girl, that's just B-Eazy. Oh boy, that's just B-Eazy. Well, who is B-Eazy? Oh, you ain't know he been a pro, for show, all about the dough. He been running up them racks and still trying to get some more. He really one of them ones, his presence so pivotal. So hell yeah, he that dude, this is unequivocal. We all here to see B-Eazy. We wanna listen to B-Eazy. Ayy, we all like B-Eazy. Nah, matter of fact, we love B-Eazy. Believe me, he really that dude. Subscribe to the channel, it's easy to do. If you care, then go ahead and share this fire content, extraordinarily rare. That's why I put that on my mama, he is that dude. And I put that on my daddy, he is that dude. So
B-Eazy Dat Dude. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the boardroom, you gotta stand the rain. Be-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the boardroom, you gotta stand the rain. Big block engine with 26 inches on the chrome I ride. Started at the bottom, soared to the top and still on the ride. Air handshake solid, seal the deal airtight. He gave you the blueprint to grind and get your hustle right. Money in the vision, it was dirty but he washed it clean. Turned a dollar to a dream, now he living like a king. From the late nights grinding to the early bird moves. Ask around the city, he really that dude. He love how he talk it cause he walk it too. Every step calculated, everything come through. From the hood by the views, yeah, the rooftop views. He the bridge between the struggle and the good life view. Never fold under pressure, shine like a diamond in the sun. Every loss was a lesson, every win is hard won. Now the crowd chant his name when he steps in the room. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, you know he's the truth. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the boardroom, you gotta stand the rain. Easy that dude, yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the boardroom, you gotta stand the rain. Yeah. Listen up. It's B-Eazy Dat Dude, the great. He ain't fake, he one of the real guys. Spitting fire every stream. You been late to the party, now it's time to realize. From Pittsburgh to around the world, yeah, the flow is elite. Every beat that he slide on turns into straight heat. Came up from the grind, selling box on a laptop, running up a bag, feel like he hit the jackpot. Got the luxury visions, ambition vivid, never bluff. Person's progress, persevere when the going gets tough. B-Eazy Dat Dude, got stripes in the game. Every rhyme, every line, they gon' remember the name. From the streets to the stage, the energy don't fade. Legend in the making, yeah, history's what he's laid. Mic in his hand, heart in the flow and soul on every beat. Dropping knowledge, power, bravado, his legacy complete. Hustle amplified, lyrics electrified, that's the truth. B-Eazy Dat Dude, established with certified proof. Feel the bass, feel the vibe, let it ride through the crowd. All the words, every hook, man, he keeps making us proud. King of his lane, rising above every feud. All hail the one and only, B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah. Yeah.
He he always do it big. You know who it is. B-Eazy, B-Eazy, B-Eazy that dude. He on his way to the top and he ain't about to stop. You thought he would flop and didn't wanna give him props. The things you dreaming about he already did do. Now it's time to soak a game he about to give you. Like, share, follow, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to tune in when he goes live. Make a contribution if you feeling the content. Tap into the realness if you tired of the nonsense. I mean, no disrespect, ain't trying to sound rude, but the world already knows that B-Eazy's that dude. Ooh. We all here to see B-Eazy. We wanna listen to B-Eazy. Ayo, who is that dude? Oh girl, that's just B-Eazy. Oh boy, that's just B-Eazy. Well, who is B-Eazy? Oh, you ain't know. He been a pro for show, all about the dough. He been running up them racks and still trying to get some more. Don't care about the fame, just trying to gain and grow. He really one of them ones, his presence so pivotal. So hell yeah, he that dude, this is unequivocal.
Turn your radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream back with another one. This one is gonna be a banger. We'll ruffle some feathers, so it will be a doozy. I don't like to keep y'all waiting. So before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても実は世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。ぶったファンのこっち見ろ。
This promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really envy. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad. And we are activated. And I've already been joined by some illustrious guests, none other than Chakra King coming in. We got my brother from Nassau County, East Coast, Nassau County in the building, but where Brooklyn at? We've been joined by none other than Tay Baby. Hey, Tay Baby. and red 6. We in this biznatch in the building. So ecstatic that y'all came through. We gonna get right into this thing. Y'all seen the title, y'all seen the thumbnail, and y'all let me know if y'all have any issues hearing me or hearing the video. So the first video that I'm gonna react to is from the Honorable Tariq Nasheed. This is him having a discussion with a Boule insider. And this insider is going to expose why the Black elite are terrified of FBA. They want us to maintain being this generic African, this generic POC that other people can leech, and tether onto our cultural accomplishments and achievement without enduring the pain, the plight, and the suffering. However, they come in, tether on to the suffering and the injustice and reap the benefits from that. So we're gonna do a bit of a deep dive into that. So y'all let me know if y'all have any issues hearing me or hearing the video, and we gonna get right into it. So we're gonna expose how the Black Boule, the Black buck dancing bozos in the Boule continues to sell the community out. Let's get into it.
Because I would love to talk to you about something.
Okay, there you go. I just sent you a request to turn the camera on. All right, can you do it now? There she go.
Hi.
Hey, beloved, how are you?
Okay, so I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. So what's on your mind, dear?
Okay, so as I was telling you before, my family is like well off, and I went to like Jack and Jill, and I am very new to this FBA stuff, and I've been reading about it and listening and watching you, and I mentioned to my mom and dad that I was a foundational Black American,
Yeah.
and they completely told me that is BS, and that I came from Africa. This is what they told me my whole life, that we were slaves and we came from Africa, and this movement that this whole FBA is kind of like the Black Lives Matter scam, and it's very hard for me to combat with them because, like I said, my mom's a judge. My dad's a judge. My mom's a lawyer, so they are very slow
down.
I'm sorry.
Okay, now let's unpack that. Number one, you said you were in Jack and Jill. That means your family is Boule. They're in the Boule, right?
Yes.
Right. All right. So that's one thing. So that means they're really clicked in with the Democrats, right?
Very, very much so.
Right.
They like donate and everything every year.
Right.
And then when I was younger, we used to go to like the Democratic Party and like help out and stuff. Like
right. There you go. So that the people who have a problem with our lineage, us recognizing our lineage, are foreigners and Democrat damn operatives. Those Democrat operatives, they really have an issue with us looking at our lineage because they need us to be a generic African identifying group so that we can be lumped in with all of these other people and vote as a block like that.
So how do I fight them back? Like what? Like this is. I know it's not your job to educate me, and I swear I'm looking. I've been reading into it and stuff, but they strongly believe. And since I was a little kid, they strongly have believed and told me that we came here from Africa. Black people came from Africa, and we had. There was no Black people in America before the slaves came. They don't believe in indigenous Black people. And I feel
so this is the buck broken, brain dead Boule holding on to the out of Africa theory and saying that, hey, we were all enslaved and came from Africa. That's not true, but let's just say that it was. There's something called an ethnogenesis. There's not a continuity with the continent, right? So even if people were allegedly from Africa and they took people from various parts of Africa, then they mixed in with the indigenous people and the colonial settlers, that becomes a completely different ethnic group. If you want to get technical, it's a completely different racial group, but we'll just stick with the ethnicity, right? Because people say, well, why do you have to make it about race? Well, I'm not making it about race. I'm making it about ethnicity, heritage, and specific lineage, like everyone else does. There's no such thing as one big indigenous, one big Indian, one big Native American. Seminoles are not the same as Choctaw. Choctaw is not the same as Cherokee. Cherokee is not the same as Navajo. They're all allegedly indigenous tribes, completely different. They're entitled to their intellectual and cultural sovereignty, right? The only group that they pretend as if we have no ethnic sovereignty, no intellectual sovereignty, is foundational Black Americans. We have to be this generic Black person who came from a distant land, allegedly hundreds, in some people's cases, thousands of years ago, right? So when the alleged natives came here, the first day that they allegedly populated this place, they became indigenous. So what? The place that they immigrated from or migrated from, that just gets completely erased from their cultural identity and memory bank. Okay, fine. How many years does it take for you to stop being whatever continent or country you originate from? No one could answer that, right? If they say that they allege that many of the first natives were Asiatic, right? Okay, let's just say that that was true. Well, there's no race called indigenous and there's no race called Native American, right? So what race are these people and what race were these people at that time? And when did they stop being whatever racial group or category that they represent? See, because there's this fixation where if you've been on this land 500 years or 1,000 years, you still have to trace it back to Africa, right? But the so-called native population don't have to continuously trace their lineage back to Asia, Europe, or Africa, wherever it comes from. It's just, no, they were here. No, there wasn't just one continuous phenotype of Native Americans. They all didn't look like some caricature of Geronimo. That's just what you were told. So you have to wonder why they always try to strip your American lineage and place it somewhere in Africa. They can't pinpoint anywhere in Africa, so they try to make you a generic African. They try to say that you're from a place that didn't even exist. My family is from various parts of the South before they migrated to California, right? Alabama, for instance, Alabama is older than many African nations. So while your family was bleeding, fighting, and dying for Alabama or Louisiana or Texas or something, they want you to be convinced that you're from Sudan. They have new countries popping up every day. Sudan turns into South Sudan, right? And it's, Ethiopia, Eritrea is like, I'm not Ethiopian anymore. We're Eritrea, right? But it's all the same land, the same people. But go try telling them that they're the same people. But when it comes to Americans, suddenly we're all the same. If you have a little bit of melanin, then yep, you're a Negro too. Everyone has melanin, even white people. Now they have lower levels of melanin, but they still have melanin nonetheless. So just because you have a particular tinge of melanin doesn't mean that you're Black, and it definitely doesn't mean that you're foundational Black American. You can't immigrate into a lineage. Right now, if I go to Japan and have a bunch of kids, right, they're still going to consider me Gaijin. I'll be a Japanese citizen, but they won't consider me truly Japanese. They'll consider me a foundational Black American living in Japan. Will they treat me courteously in most cases? Yes, but I'm still considered a foreigner, Gaijin, outsider. You can't immigrate into a lineage. If I, as a Black man, go to Nigeria, or let's just say I go to the UK, I can't immigrate into being a Black Brit. I won't start suddenly talking like Cheerio. Would you like a spot of tea? No, I'm still going to have my foundational Black American vernacular because that's what I am no matter where I am. So this obsession with trying to make us generic Africans, many of the older generation have tolerated. This new generation going forward is saying, no, we're standing on ethnic and lineage business. There would be no USA without FBA. And we've been joined by an illustrious guest, the Big C, the illest Israelite, stepping on 2 feet, Travion in building. Let's get back into it.
Differently. I definitely do, but it's
Foreigners and Democrat damn operatives. Those Democrat operatives, they really have an issue with us looking at our lineage because they need us to be a generic African identifying group so that we can be lumped in with all of these other people and vote as a block like that.
So how do I fight them back? Like what? Like this is. I know it's not your job to educate me, and I swear I'm looking. I've been reading into it and stuff, but they strongly believe. And since I was a little kid, they strongly have believed and told me that we came here from Africa. Black people came from Africa, and you know there was no Black people in America before the slaves came. They don't believe in indigenous Black people. And I feel differently. I definitely do, but it's very hard to talk to them. And then my sister, I have a sister as well. She's younger than me. She's a chemist. And she's just like, biologically, it doesn't make sense. So they're all like against me, but I really feel your message. I really feel when I hear it, I really think
And then when they try to do the whole biological thing, what are you saying? The biological, it doesn't make sense. Once again, even if we all came from the motherland, which is not my motherland, my motherland is America right here, right? Even if we hypothetically all came here, first of all, we didn't come here in this hypothetical situation, right? If we all came here and we were trafficked, kidnapped, forcibly transported, right? And then once we got onto this land, there was an ethnogenesis. We became a completely different ethnic group based on the admixture, based on the people that were already here. The indigenous people, you can say they weren't African because not every Negro is African. There were melanated Negroid people all over the planet. They just weren't classified as African. There's a bunch of Negroid Asiatic people who weren't classified as African. You can say that they came from Africa, they weren't classified as African. Even when many people do their genealogy, the word Africa won't come up a lot. Africa is a fairly new term, a modern term. Always ask people this: what was America called before America, right? And why don't people say they're native to that place rather than America? Right? What was Africa called before it was called Africa? Why don't people say they're indigenous to that place rather than Africa? Right? So all of these terms are fairly modern. Just because you've known them all your life, you think that they've always been there for thousands of years. But this country, America alone, is only 250 years old, right? Human civilization has been around for millions and millions, and some people say billions of years, right? So the millions of years ago, there was no Africa. Millions of years ago, there was no white European, none of that, right? So we're operating still in archaic thinking in modern times. So there's this obsession to try to, man, y'all African, African. But people know that white people and Caucasian people are European, right? But there's no obsession to just keep fixating on how European they are. right? When you look at the heritage Americans and the MAGA maniacs and morons, there's not a fixation to say, y'all claiming America, but y'all really European, no, right? All of the Latinos that come over here and say, I will vote for Donald Trump, many of them speak English with a very, very thick accent, right? There's no fixation to say, yeah, y'all are American, but y'all really come from this place. Y'all really from there, though. There's no fixation to do that. So you have to wonder, why is there a fixation to make us these generic Africans, a generic person of color that everyone could just leech and tether on to the accomplishments, right? When you say that you're African, other people who are actually African and have roots in Africa could come and try to give you a one up. Well, I'm more African than you, i.e. a tether by the name of Myron Games, whose real name is Amaru Fuddle, but I call him Amru Fudil, but his name is Amaru Fuddle. He changed his name to Myron Gaines to sound blackety black. And then when people say, hey, bro, you ain't like us, you ain't black. I'm black. I'm from Africa. I'm more African American than you. That's what he says. He's African from the African continent. So he checks the African box. He's born here in America, anchored here. So he's an American. He's an African American. No different than Elon Musk can claim to be an African American. No, he can't. African American means what, right? That's the whole point. It's supposed to be vague, nebulous, and broad. It pretends as if it specifies a particular demographic, right? And back in the day, maybe it did because we didn't have as many immigrants. But now with all of these immigrants coming over here, it muddies the water. This is not xenophobia. This is not saying that, hey, we hate immigrants. What we're saying is that there's a different experience. They come over here all the time and tell us how different they are, how different their culture is. Well, if we're so different, then we need to delineate, disaggregate the data, and find out exactly how different we are. I didn't grow up eating bushmeat, naan and curry, a goosey soup, fufu, plantains, none of that. I'm sure it comes from a very rich culture, a prominent culture that I'm not a part of. I don't want to take credit for that, right? And using flat blackness terms is a form of ethnic and cultural erasure. For example, when you think of samurai and ninja cultures, that's Asian culture, but to put it under a flat Asian banner would be disrespectful. Samurai in ninja culture is attributed to Japanese culture in specific. Do you think Japanese people will be okay with Filipinos claiming samurai culture as their own? Japanese people are Asian, Filipinos are Asian. Hey, I'm Asian too, so Filipinos could claim samurai culture. Huh? No, Filipinos have their own rich culture that they could claim and represent. Don't conflate your Asianness and tether on to another ethnic Asian's accomplishments. This is not division. This is accuracy. We live in the information age, so it's not hard to parse the information and separate the information. So that goes the same with us. When we create something culturally, i.e. hip hop, it's not for everyone else to tether on to. Now, anyone could partake in it because we have a culture of inclusivity, of love and compassion. But just because racially foundational Black Americans are Black and racially Nigerians are Black doesn't mean that Nigerians can lay claim to hip hop and say that hip hop started in Africa because of some drum, right? We were banging on trash cans. People was beatboxing. People were using their own elements in America to create that art form. That art form was no other racial Black group and no other ethnic melanated or minority group. So this is what delineation is about. Now, it could get messy in the process. Some people crack jokes and roast and call names. That's part of our culture. But you know, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you, right? So now the delineation, it really is about ethnic preservation, but survival as well, right? Because we have the Trump admin and the Democrats are not doing anything to combat the erasure that we're facing in real time, right? So let's get back into it.
That I'm a foundational Black person.
Right, you are.
To my mother and father and my sister and everybody else's family, they're just like, here you go, hopping on another trend that you know nothing about. And so, like I said, I really have been trying to get knowledgeable so that I can fight them back. But it's very hard to win an argument with a lawyer and a judge. So
yeah, but basically they just talk over you because all you
right, like they railroad exactly. They railroad me exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So Roger Meadow says the best argument she can use is if her and her parents went to Africa, they tell them in a heartbeat, you are not African. And if a tribe doesn't claim you, then you are not African. Yeah, they claim a lot of the W people that come over there, the Lily Whites and the Ivories, they claim them. But yeah, when you come over there, they'll claim we are brothers, we are cousins, but you're not African. So it's funny, right? The buck broken boule, the brain dead boule in America wants you to obsess with calling yourself African. Then you go to the continent of Africa and they say, hey, my American brother, right? You have to wonder, why will these institutions fund anything with the name African in it? Pan-African, African-American studies, African. But then when you say foundational Black American, suddenly that becomes divisive. The only reason why they want to fund things in Africa is so you're looking to a distant land to go back to and build up to, but there's no going back to. I never was there. I never came from there. And what they want to convince you is because you have a bloodline that may trace there multiple centuries ago, you're still from there. Huh? It doesn't even really make sense at all, right? They want to say, hey, you're from a country in Africa that didn't exist 400 years ago, so claim it. Claim a plot of land, right? You know? And like Roger says, I'm 2-3 centuries removed from Africa. If America is 250 years old and we were here hundreds of years before America became a country, some people are 3, 5, even more centuries removed. So many people's family has been here 500 plus years and they still want you to claim Africa, a place that you've never been, right?
exactly what it is. They railroad me every single time.
Yeah, because logically, listen, because even if everybody came from Africa, whatever, we still had an ethnogenesis here.
Right.
We had an ethnogenesis here. We've been here so long.
I'm sorry, don't mind if I'm writing. I'm just learning.
No problem. But the thing is, we've had an ethnogenesis here. We've been here so long, and those African nation groups don't even exist anymore. So we're not a part of that. We predate many of the modern African nation states. We became a whole different ethnic group. We are foundational to the United States. That's not up for debate. Somebody's foundational to this country. It's not the white people, because many of them were not even classified as white that are classified as white now. It wasn't Hispanics. It wasn't Asians. It was us.
No, they're very strong on believing that this is our country, that we built it, we helped build it, and
Right.
This is our home, this is where we are. They just don't want me. I told them that I'm going to go by FBA now, and they were like, no, you need to go by Black or African American.
No, the African American thing is done.
My mom and dad only, like when I was growing up, they were like Black to them, Black was ghetto, so I always had to call myself African American.
And see, when I grew up, I never called myself African American. My family, we all called ourselves Black, right? And there's this thing where if you say Black, that sounds ghetto, but saying that you're African sounds prominent. This is one of the most idiotic arguments ever, because they always showed African people in a disparaging light. They showed this skinny kid with his ribs touching and a big belly with flies all around him, asking, could you feed this kid for 50 cents? This is where the term African booty scratcher comes from, allegedly, right? They would show these Discovery and Nat Geo channels of African women walking around naked. They would say that they're primitive, that they were savage beasts, that they lived in mud huts, right? But you saying you're black, you think black is ghetto? It's funny though, because and at least she's revealing the truth. This is what all these other groups thought. Why do you call yourselves black? Black is just a color. Mind you, they were dominated by people who call themselves white. So you say, don't call yourself black because black is just a color, and then you're dominated by someone who's calling themselves a color. There's someone who's calling themselves white, who is a color, and smacking your black ass around, right? So I don't know where this thing is that people think that if they're foreign or if they say that they're African, that's some sort of exotic claim. No. When people think of Africa, unfortunately, they think of the most disparaging things. Just like when they think of foundational Black Americans, we have a rich, great culture that is the foundation of this nation. But when they think of Black people, they try to frame it around violence, thuggery, and twerking. But even though our culture is so much more than that, it's the same thing with Africa. Africa is much more than mud huts and booty scratchers and flies and pooping in the streets, right? But what media outlet is going to frame Africa as that? It's not foundational Black Americans. We were the only ones uplifting Africa. Even now, you got a young dude where they got Africans were crying, oh my God, I Show Speed. You know, they were praising I Show Speed. I Show Speed is like a 19, 20-year-old. Where are the grown adults to uplift Africa? It's a bunch of Nigerians over here who is talking about how rich their culture is, how many of them are doing much better. Where are they at to go build up Africa, to build up the image of Africa, the so-called Nollywood, right? Many of the Nigerians are trying to get to America to cosplay and act as a foundational Black American. Why don't you create films that depict Nigeria in a light of prominence and prestige? Instead, they're coming over here, unfortunately, in the droves to tether on to what we've already built by trying to tell us that you guys got baby mama culture and all this other type of stuff. Y'all got gangs and all this stuff. There's so many gangs in Africa, but there's not a robust data keeping process. So many of those crimes go unsolved. Many of the deletions go unreported, right? This is not to denigrate or disparage. This is just the case. You can't try to say that we have inferior culture and then we point out the deficiencies in your culture and then you try to say it's xenophobic. No, it's xenophobic for you to attack foundational Black Americans as lazy when we were the ones putting boots on the ground so that these immigrants could come over here, all immigrants, and then they come over here and fight for ethnic specific policies when we're fighting for universal all lives matter policies, which was much to my chagrin and to our detriment, right? We get praised for being society's political doormat, but guess what people do? They keep their doormat clean, then they go step in dog poo and go wipe it on the Black doormat. Who cares? It's the niggers, right? That's how people feel. How many times do I have to ask this question and not get an answer? Who is the Asian version of MLK, Fred Hampton, or Malcolm X? Dick Gregory, Medgar Evers, anyone, right? Who is the white version of MLK, Malcolm X, Dick Gregory, Medgar Evers? Who is the Asian version of MLK, Fred Hampton? Don't worry, I'll wait. Go ahead and drop it in the chat, because every time it seems that someone brings up someone, either these people have smut on their name or they have a history of anti-Blackness. People bring up Gandhi, You mean the same Gandhi who hated black people, right? People bring up Cesar Chavez, who's being drugged through the mud right now. And Cesar Chavez was fighting for Chicano rights. He wasn't fighting for civil rights, right? Just name any other people. This is why every time they want to quote a civil rights leader, it's always a black person. Why is that? If these people were so pivotal to the civil rights generation, then quote some of the people that they said. But everyone they quote seems to be black.
I could never say black.
Serious dictation was driving me crazy, so I switched to whisper flow.
Many of them were not even classified as white that are classified as white now. It wasn't Hispanics, it wasn't Asians, it was us.
No, they're very strong on believing that this is our country, that we built it, we helped build it, and this is our home, this is where we are. They just don't want me. I told them that I'm going to go by FBA now, and they were like, no, you need to.
So this is weird. They'll agree that we built it, that this is our home, but you got to claim Africa. If this is our home, why the fuck would I be claiming Africa, right? Just like, but nobody is pushing to Europeans that Europe is your home. It's a bunch of people that show more love to Ireland than America. America is not Ireland, but people aren't pushing for them to go back to Ireland and say, hey, never forget your homeland, right? These people actually know where they're from, and they immigrated from a place they were failing. And I'm just using Ireland in specific. There was a potato famine. They were failing. So they came here to seek a better life because an opportunity had already been laid out by the foundational people here, right? There was no place that we can go back to. They're saying that, hey, you're African. Africa is a continent. So what? They just say, oh, well, you can go back to Africa. What part of Africa? Then they try to just presume and assume, well, West Africa, well, there's multiple countries in West Africa. Then they just start saying, oh, well, you need to take a DNA test, but those DNA tests are not accurate, right? What purpose do those DNA tests really even serve? You know what I mean? Most of the times it's just a money grab, and there's a lot of scam and corruption with those DNA, right? I've seen people that they were swabbing iguanas and pets, and then they swabbed an iguana and the iguana came back like 80% Nigerian, right? So there are a lot of flaws in those DNA tests. It's definitely not a panacea, but most history, especially when you're dealing with, like, let's just say the so-called indigenous people, most of their history is not documented. It's oral history. It's trust me, bro, history. And I'm not saying it's not true, because that's how history was passed on historically. Even if you look at the Bible, all of these parables are a lot of trust me, bro, parables, right? And many people do. They say, oh, well, it's in the good book, so I trust them. You know what I mean? But that's really not proof. You know what I mean? It's not evidence. It's just something that you believe in, right? For centuries, people have believed that Christopher Columbus discovered America, when just theoretically, allegedly, reportedly, there's no way that it even sounds true. He comes here. He had a diary saying that he's seen a bunch of people, a bunch of dark-skinned people. This is what Christopher Columbus said. Christopher Columbus never stepped foot in what's considered present-day USA, right? So how did he discover America again? But you're just supposed to go with it. You tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth. You're African, you're African, you're African, you're African, you're African, you're African. You tell a lie long enough, it becomes the truth, right? And, you know, how long does it take for a new ethnic group or a new racial group to form? At the low end, 2 generations. At a moderate end, 3 to 4 generations. A solid changing 5+ generations. It's going to be a completely admixture phenotype. Will there be some similarities? Yes, but it won't be the same. So even if we are all are allegedly from Africa, but we've been removed from there for 500 plus years. It's not the same people. This is the whole trope where people, people will say we was kings and shit. It's like, bro, why do you want me to claim ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet? You know what I mean? Why do you want me to claim Mansa Musa? Shout out to Mansa Musa. Shout out to the Black Arabs. Shout out to the original inhabitants of all parts of Africa. Salute to them. That's a different lineage, a different culture. Well, y'all all African. If we ain't doing the flat blackness, we not doing the flat African. Everyone has some level of African ancestry. Some people got 90%. Some people got 9%. Some people got 0.9%. Right? Let's get back into it.
To go by Black or African American.
No, the African American thing is done.
My mom and dad only, like when I was growing up, they were like black to them, Black was ghetto. Like, so I always had to call myself African American. I could never say Black.
Now, where's your family from? Where are they from?
So my grandfather is from, okay, so let me explain. My grandfather, who was the first Black lieutenant police in our town, he is from Mississippi. He married my grandma. Now, my grandma's mom was white, but nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it, but she was definitely white. And my grandma was very light skinned. And then she was from New Jersey as well, too. So when my grandfather got out the army, he came up here from.
So she said what her grandma was white, right? So that's already leading to the admixture. And then there's people in Africa, a bunch of Black people mating with other Black people. Then their kids mate with other Black people. Africans mating with Africans, mating with Africans, mating with Africans, right? But in our case, there's enslaved Black people. There were free Black people. There were indigenous melanated people, and they were Lily W European people. That's one heck of a mixture. That's not the same mixture as someone who's been living with his Fulani tribe and they only mate and breed with the Fulani tribe that looks just like them phenotypically. Same thing with people from Somalia or Djibouti, right? There's a reason why they look like that, because they're mating and breeding with people that look like them, the same territory, the same phenotype, right? This is why we look different. I mean, this stuff is really not hard to figure out.
Mississippi, and they got married. So my lineage is, my grandfather was from Mississippi. I was growing up, they were like Black to them, Black was ghetto. Like, so I always had to call myself African American. I could never say Black.
Now, where's your family from? Where are they from?
So my grandfather is from, okay, so let me explain. My grandfather, who was the first Black lieutenant police in our town, he is from Mississippi. He married my grandma. Now, my grandma's mom was white, but nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it, but she was definitely white. And my grandma was very light skinned. And then she was from New Jersey as well, too. So when my grandfather got out the army, he came up here from Mississippi and they got married. So my lineage is, my grandfather was from Mississippi, my grandma.
All right, just give me one moment. I'm about to pull this up because we gotta hit y'all with some scholarship. Okay, could y'all see the screen? Hold on, let me pull these down right here. Now, race is considered to be a social construct, not a biological reality. So this response is presuming that race is a social construct, right? So the formation of a distinct gene pool, right? And this is when ancestries mix. So it showed you over here with an ethnogenesis, which is a new ethnic identity, cultural, linguistic, and social identity that happens after hundreds to thousands of years. Some of us do have lineage that can trace back to thousands of years. I don't think no one even needs to go back that far. Hundreds of years is enough, right? And every foundational Black American has lineage that traces to this country for hundreds of years. This country is only 250 years old, but hundreds of years prior to the formation of this country, we were here, as in all of the documentation, all of the explorers. Now, they may not have called us exactly foundational Black Americans, but they did say Black, swarthy, Moorish, all of these other adjectives that mean Black or translate into Black, right? So, yeah, we've been here multiple centuries. A new ethnic group was formed, creating a new ethnic identity. And that's what an ethnogenesis is. There was a mixture of ancestors, right? Mixing with European ancestors, mixing with indigenous ancestors, freedmen, and enslaved people. That is the amalgamation that creates a foundational Black American. That's not the same amalgamation that a Somali person is going to have, right? It's different, right? There may be similarities somewhere down the line, but we're not the same. All right, so let me go ahead and pull the video back up.
I was from New Jersey.
Okay, got it. And they were descendants of slaves here in America.
Yes.
Any immigrants in the family? Anybody immigrants?
No, we have, and that's one of the things I tried to say to them. We absolutely have no African people in our family or anything like that. I mean, my cousin married out, different people, we have a Korean woman that my cousin married, but there's no African people ever.
And this is the thing. They keep trying to say, you're African. But see, who are your African cousins? Like, seriously, bro. They say, we are brothers. Okay, who is your brother from Africa? We are cousins. Okay, name a cousin from Africa. You can say, man, I got a cousin from Mississippi. I got a cousin from Alabama. I got a cousin from New York, a cousin from Nebraska, cousin from California. You got cousins, but all your cousins and your brothers and your family members are all in and from the United States. And I'm specifically talking about foundational Black Americans. There's many people from Senegal and Nigeria and Haiti that have people back home, right? Back home. Our home is here. This is my homeland, which is why everything, my entire existence, my entire ancestral existence is rooted in this land. This is just documented facts. Even though it's true, even though it's irrefutable, despite all that, people still want to make you this generic African. And you have to wonder why that is, right? Look at all of the inventions that we created. Were they created in Africa or were they created here? Look at all the wars that we fought in. Were we fighting in Africa or here, right? We weren't fighting with the Zulu tribe or anything like that. We were fighting here. We're the only ethnic group that fought in every war. So we are too rooted in this country to not be foundational. And that's what people hate, because they can't put that immigrant jacket on us, right? And now once we drop the African American term, people can't tether on to foundational Black American. A Nigerian, a Senegalese person, someone from Sudan, you can't tether on to being foundational Black American. You can tether on to being African American, which is why someone like a Nigerian British person, Cynthia Erivo, who said disparaging things about foundational Black Americans, she can come over here, immigrate, and say, hey, I'm African American, just like you. No, you're not just like me. I'm not saying I'm better than you simply because I have a different lineage, but we're not the same. To pretend that we are is disrespectful and very demeaning to what our ancestors fought, built, and established here. I always give the example. If I'm doing a zoo exhibit and I have two cats in a cage and I say, here is 2 jaguars, and you say, hold on, one of them that kind of look like a leopard over there. Is that a leopard? Oh yeah, my bad, that is a leopard. Why did you say it was 2 jaguars then? Well, they're both cats. Yeah, they're both cats, but a jaguar is not a leopard. Just because a jaguar looks like a leopard, it doesn't mean that it is a leopard. A crocodile looks like an alligator. A crocodile is not an alligator. A grapefruit looks like an orange. A grapefruit is not an orange. So even if a Nigerian might actually look like a foundational Black American, doesn't mean that they have the same lineage or heritage, right? All skin folk and kinfolk, right? And guess what? Salt looks like sugar. Is salt the same thing as sugar? Let's get back into it.
I mean, I don't know. Like, and this is the thing. This is what pisses me off. We were all, growing up. My mom always told me, because I was like the token Black girl, because it wasn't too many. I was the only Black girl around. So my mom used to always tell me, stay down for the brown. Always include every Black person. Always root for every.
So this with the whole, you could blame it on your own people in Africa. It wasn't their own people. This is like why this kind of commentary is kind of immature and somewhat idiotic. This is the reason why they were selling some people, because they didn't see them as their own people, right? Even right now, I mean, Israelis are Middle Eastern, Palestinians are Middle Eastern. Do Israelis see Palestinians as their own people? Iranians are Middle Eastern. People in Saudi are Middle Eastern. Do the Saudis see the Iranians as their own people? Do Iraqis see Iranians as their own people? Do Egyptians see Jordanians as their own people? Look at any Viking movie. You won't find any Black people in the Viking movies. It's a bunch of white Vikings going in, pillaging, plundering, raping other white nations. They were stealing from their own people. Okay, right? And this really doesn't even matter, because no one was forced to buy slaves, right? Even if these were their own people, right? They weren't forced to participate in the slave trade. So this doesn't absolve, I'm for doling out total blame, right? Blame all parties involved. It was a RICO, round them all up. But we can't pretend as if someone was forced to participate in the slave trade. Yeah, no one is saying that it's not a fact, but I don't really get why you're bringing this up. Like, this is a bit of a kind of low IQ comment. It's like, okay, you're like, the sky is blue. Okay. Newsflash, bucko. Everyone knows that. Now, there were Black people, but there were the leaders. There were plenty Black people that didn't own slaves, so they didn't have the agency to sell anyone. Just like what a bunch of white people try to say, only 2% of white people own slaves, right? Isn't that what they try to say? No one knows the percentage of which one of these African chiefs owned slaves. The majority of Africans didn't own slaves. But either way, there was no one forced to buy slaves. So Timothy, it seems like, you are part of the Lily W community. No one in your ancestral lineage was forced to buy a slave. They chose to. And he says, why do I hold a grudge against white people? Because of the slavery time. Why? It didn't happen to you. It happened to them. No one is holding a grudge against white people. But then again, even if I was holding a grudge and you didn't enslave anyone, why are you that triggered? Are you that emotionally fragile? Right? And it happened to my ancestors. And Focus says 40% of Jews own slaves. Hey, that may be true. You know what I mean? I'm not a person that says, that tries to absolve anyone. This is the only thing that I don't like when people say 40% of Jews. There's no race called Jew. There's no race called Jewish. So what race were those people? Yeah, you're telling me ethnically and religiously there were Jews. And most of those slave ships had Christian names, not Jewish names. When people were lynched, there was a lot of people coming from a Christian church and lynching Black people. Wasn't a bunch of people coming from synagogues and lynching black people. So everyone should get the blame, right? The Africans in Africa who sold slaves, give them some blame. But there weren't these sweet, innocent angel Europeans going there, right? They went to go purchase human beings for chattel property, right? They could get a blame too. Hey, well, yeah, 40% of whites, you know what I mean? I really don't care what racial or ethnicity they was. Wrong is wrong. There are many Native Americans or so-called Native Americans that own slaves as well. Even when they talk about how sad the Trail of Tears was, they don't talk about how slaves were being transported on the Trails of Tears is what I meant. I am from the Northeast. I met a black man that thought we were ignorant up here, and he found out different in that we owned slaves, but we didn't own slaves. Okay, this sounds like anecdotal. So, Timothy, I'm not sure. Timothy, bro, you kind of like all over the place. What point are you trying to prove? And Timothy, bro, I'll drop the link if you want to come up because you kind of always be dropping this stuff from like a faceless account. But hey, if you want to come up here and stand on it, bro, I'll let you go on your rant because I don't hate white people. I'm a humanitarian, so I actually love white people. I love all people, but I have to put my community as my primary focus. I'm America first, so I want to see my country enriched and uplifted. However, it's people like Timothy in your community who's always complaining about black people, black fatigue, black on black crime, black this, black that. So I need to focus on the community that people have so much fatigue about, that people complain about so much. And I want to see the enrichment and the betterment of that community. That's all. But Tim, hey, if you want to come, if you want to come up here, if you want to discuss or debate, then I'll drop the link for you. Don't just kind of troll and kind of ramble and babble incoherently in the chat. Yes, Jews profited from slavery, but as far as being slaveholders, they made up less than 1%. They made up such a large percentage that most of our last names would be Jewish sounding names. The Rothschilds still own the slave trades. I'm not saying that they don't, but there's no race called Rothschild and there's no race called Jewish. So what race are the Rothschilds? Let me know that, Penn. Tell me what race the Rothschilds are. Are you in today's everybody? Are you in today? Everybody is asleep to somebody. If you're working for somebody, you're still a slave. Like I said, Timothy, you're kind of all over the place. And if you're still a slave in this society, who runs society, right? Surely it's not those distant Africans that you're blaming for the transatlantic slave trade, right? Who is running the society that makes it so that everyone is a slave, according to you, Timothy? Also, if such a large percentage of Jews owned slaves, then why was the Confederate South littered with churches and not synagogues and temples? You'll have to ask Timothy and some of the other brothers in the chat. Everybody today is a slave if you work for somebody. I was told people in the South of schools and South teach black kids that we had slaves in the Northeast when we didn't. Yeah, there was slavery everywhere, all over the country, and even the places that allegedly didn't have slavery. There was something called the Fugitive Slave Act, which means that the places, the good old people, the good boys who claimed that they didn't have slaves, guess what? They would snitch on people and say, hey, nigger, you're a slave, so I'm going to snitch on you and collect a bounty. So that essentially makes it a slave state, right? Because you guys helped uphold slavery, right? It's just like if someone said, hey, I never touched any kids, but then you see a little kid that escapes and then you return that kid back to the household that was abusing and molesting them. Hey, I never touched kids. Yeah, you just enabled and were complicit with the pedophiles who were touching kids. Hey, I never owned any slaves. Yeah, you were just complicit with the system of slavery and upholding it. So the whole I never owned any slaves things in the Northeast was so innocent. Like, come on, bruh. Spare me. And it's funny because the people who say I never owned any slaves, okay, fine. So no one is talking about you. If I'm talking about a bunch of disgusting P-files and you don't fit that description, why would you feel offended? I'm talking about P-files. You say that's not you, so why would you get offended? If I'm talking about the grotesque people who enslaved people as chattel property, that's not you, and you allegedly don't condone that. So why would you feel guilty? No one is saying all white people own slaves and all these people and all. No, I don't generalize people like that, but your community does. The black community, there's black on black crime, black this, black that, all sorts of stuff. So Timothy, you come from a culture of violence and a culture of demonizing and ostracizing people. And that's not even what's going on. So it's a lot of projection and incoherent babble from you in the chat. But like I said, if you want to come up here, you want to debate or discuss whatever you think you're talking about, you're more than welcome. And I'm going to get into the video because, it's a lot of chats coming in, and I'll let y'all handle that in the chat because I do have some other topics to get into.
Every black person, but these Africans are mean. They're from Mississippi, and they got married. So my lineage is my grandfather was from Mississippi, my grandmom was from New Jersey.
Okay, got it. And they were descendants of slaves here in America.
Yes.
Any immigrants in the family? Anybody immigrants?
No, we had, and that's one of the things I tried to say to them. We absolutely have no African people in our family or anything like that. I mean, my cousin.
Focus says, I'm not saying whites shouldn't be punished for slavery. I don't like people minimizing Jewish supremacy. I want to go after the CEO and their white collaborators. Yeah, I mean, I concur with this. My whole thing is that many people who have a platform, right? The largest like white platforms, they're always blaming black people. BLM and George Floyd. George Floyd has been dead for how long? Do many of these major platforms blame it's the Jew? Do they really blame them, or are they blaming George Floyd and black people? They'll blame one crusty, musty, dusty nigga in Chicago who did some crime and got locked up. Okay, now he's being held accountable by the justice system, but somehow they want the black community to answer for him. How am I going to answer for someone who's already been punished, who's already been held accountable? Who's being accountable? If these alleged J people, right, the J supremacy mafia, if they're allegedly running amok, who really has the infrastructural power to contend with them? Surely it would be the dominant society, right? What do people always say? Black people are allegedly 13% of the population. They give all sorts of tropes. You guys are sub-Saharan Africans with a low IQ. You don't have any power. You don't organize. Okay, fine. Let's just say that I take all of those things at face value. Then that means we're not the ones who can stand up to the big bad J mafia. That would be the dominant society. What prominent white people are talking about delineation from Jews? Is Tucker Carlson saying that? He'll blame Israel, but he won't say that Jews are not white. He won't say that Jews are a completely different racial group. So if white people aren't willing to delineate from Jewish people, everyone else has to call them what they are legally, socially, and racially classified as, which is white, right? And if you're going to point out that, yes, they're white, but they happen to be Jewish, then it needs to be the prominent figures. Is Tim Pool talking about this? Is Benny Johnson talk about this? And I'm specifically naming a bunch of the bigots who have a large white MAGA moron base, right? Is Nick Fuentes talking about this? No, Nick Fuentes blames it's the Jews in Israel. You see, these people blame Israel. But what about the American Jews? 92% of American Jews identify as racially white. I'll pull it up if I have to, because people like Timothy don't understand this. There's no gun to their head forcing them to identify as white. Bernie Sanders, Is anyone in the chat think that Bernie Sanders is not a white dude? He's Jewish. Yeah, he's a white dude. Jake Tapper. Is Jake Tapper not white? Is Jon Stewart not white? Is Dave Smith? Is he not a white dude? Like, what are we really talking about here? I think that they should be called out more, but it should be the people in the dominant society. People love Joe Rogan, right? Which I don't know why. The dude is not smart. He asks some basic questions. I really don't see the value in his content. But why is Joe Rogan not bringing this stuff up? Joe Rogan will ask these little juvenile questions as if he's trying to understand. But why won't Joe Rogan delineate and say, hey, Jews are not white? If he's saying that if he won't say that they're not white, then that means that they are white. So what are we really talking about here, right?
Married out, like, different people, like, we have a Korean woman that my cousin married, but there's no African people ever. And like, I mean, I don't know, like, and this is the thing, this is what pisses me off. We were all, growing up, my mom always told me, because I was like the token black girl, because it wasn't too many, I was the only black girl around. So my mom used to always tell me, stay down for the brown, always include every black person, always root for every black person. But these Africans are mean. They are mean. They are nasty. They have a nasty attitude. I don't want to stay down with them.
And let me tell you something, that Boule class, a lot of them, your parents, they come from that gatekeeper class where, they get elevated positions.
And man, since I got time today, I mean, I guess I got to cook because we got some, man, I don't know, Pingu. I really don't know why you're lying. I really don't know why you're lying. I don't know if you're a girl, a guy, but Pingu is lying in the chat. So we have to pull this up in real time. So Pingu says, I feel sorry for Americans. You guys have so much conversation about race, but it goes nowhere. If it goes nowhere, then why are you here whining about a conversation allegedly about race? And this is just one conversation of many. But anyways, he says, I'm Asian Australian. Did you know that the Aboriginal people who were dark melanated people were slaughtered and genocided in Australia? But I guess you wouldn't want to talk about that because it's too much conversation about race. Who wants to talk about the indigenous population of Australia being slaughtered so that Asians like you can go there and say, why do you have to talk about race? Right. But you study a lot of geopolitics, which this makes it even more pathetic. You study geopolitics, but you don't want to make it about race. Geopolitics is all about race and colonialism. What else did you think it was? And as you can see, Pingu, Counter-Strike, is lying. I don't know why you're lying and what the motivation is for you lying, but you are lying. You're either lying, incompetent, or ignorant. And I don't think as an Asian Australian, I'm a stereotype you. As an Asian Australian, I don't think that you're dumb. So if you're not dumb, are you just naive or lying? He says he's from Australia, so he or she is from Australia. Let's see what's going on in Australia. Racial issues in Australia today, not yesterday, today, remain significant and multifaceted, with indigenous communities, migrants, and religious minorities reporting persistent discrimination. Y'all know what persistent means, right? But you got Pingu in the chat lying. Australia is fine. I'm Asian, and we don't talk about race here. Okay. There has been rise in hate incidents, but he said don't talk about race. There's been systemic inequities, but hey, don't talk about race. Recent data in human rights reports shows that racism is not only ongoing, but increasing in several areas. And here you got Pingu, pompous Pingu in the chat saying, why do you talk about race so much? And then in his homeland, or the place that he immigrated to, wherever he fled from, They're showing that racism is still pervasive today and increasing in several areas, including education, policing, and public discourse. And here you got an Australian Asian saying, I feel sorry for Americans. I feel sorry for your mother, right? Is that's pretty much what you sound like, right? Bro, were you the dude in Menace to Society? Over half of Australians, 55%, believe racism is a problem. So while we have an Asian Australian saying racism is not a problem, 55% of Australians say that it is. And this is according to Amnesty International's Human Rights Barometer. 57% believe some ethnic groups don't want to fit in to the Australian way of life. What is the Australian way of life, right? So I can go on and on, but Pengu, just stop lying. There's no racism in Australia. Okay. You people there slaughter the indigenous population, but there's no racism in Australia.
To basically be spokespersons for Black society. So it's very imperative. Okay, got it. And they were descendants of slaves here in America.
Yes.
Any immigrants in the family? Anybody immigrants?
No, we have, and that's one of the things I tried to say to them. We absolutely have no African people in our family or anything like that. I mean, my cousin married out, like, you know, different people, like, you know, we have a Korean woman that my cousin married, but there's no African people ever. And like, I mean, I don't know. Like, and this is the thing. This is what pisses me off. We were growing up. My mom always told me, because I was like the token Black girl, because it wasn't too many. I was the only Black girl around. So my mom used to always tell me, stay down for the brown. Always include every Black person. Always root for every Black person. But these Africans are mean. They are mean. They are nasty. They have a nasty attitude. I don't want to stay down with them.
And let me tell you something, that Boule class, a lot of them, your parents, they come from that gatekeeper class where, you know, they get elevated positions to basically be spokespersons for Black society. So it's very imperative that they need us to be basically, again,
yes. I mean, I often, whenever I bring up the Confederacy, I always bring up Judah P. Benjamin. Anyone that's praising the Confederates are definitely some morons. There's no way you can truly be America first while praising traitors. But yeah, Judah P. Benjamin, also the Levitt brothers, who created the modern Levitt towns. They were Jewish as well, but they tethered on to whiteness, you know, and they were allowed to run amok because of who they were, you know, mistreating. And this is one of the kind of low IQ responses, Pengu. We're talking about America, right? And this is, so I don't ever want to see anyone leave a goofy chat or comment like this, because when someone is talking about a particular country, don't bring up the globe. If you're trying a rape case in America, would it be appropriate to say, well, rape was prevalent all over the world? We're not talking about the world. We're talking about America, right? So, yeah, slavery may have happened all over the world, but we don't have a jurisdiction over the world, right? So, Timothy, like I said, bro, you're just kind of whining in the chat. If you want to come up, I can debunk you in real time, but I just don't think that you're prepared or formidable enough. And why are you so angry, bruh? Like, nobody said that you own slaves, Timothy. Nobody even said that all white people are racist, but you are kind of coming off with like that you got like a little inner bigot in you. Like what's up with you, Timothy? Like, calm down, bruh. Nobody called you a name, nobody disrespected you, but you're like super triggered Timothy. Like, calm down, bruh. Go drink a mayo milkshake and stick it in the corner. All right, let's get back into it.
an undefined monolith so that everybody can kind of latch on to all of the achievements of foundational Black Americans. There's a very interesting dynamic with that Boule class.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they feel like they lose control when we start defining ourselves outside of their framework. There's millions of people who identify now as foundational Black Americans. So we're stepping outside of that vague Black label. And
I identify myself like that, but my family thinks it's a Jew. But I definitely, if someone, and like now, if I don't say I'm Black, I don't say I'm African American, I say I'm a foundational Black. Mm-hmm. And they just feel like I sound uneducated, and I'm very educated. I have a degree in communications.
Focus, I'm all for. You said if we continue to defend Israelis, that will never happen. Hey, I'm all for turning off the well. Look, they say how much and I may have to be careful because my channel, I don't even have 1,000 subs, and help your boy. Even if you Pingu, shout out to Pingu, shout out to Timothy. Even if y'all want to hate stream and hate watch me, I'm going to give y'all a lot of content to hate on and to go back and forth with and to present your contrarian views. But I am trying to reach 1,000 subs, but someone told me my channel was shadow banned. So, you know, I'm trying to be careful with what I say, but at the same time, I'm not also trying to censor myself. So anytime you talk about, you know, the chosen group in that chosen country, you know what I mean, with the Star of David, suddenly your content gets suppressed somehow, you know what I mean? Also, when you talk about the Israel-Iran conflict, you can't even call it a WAR because then you get suppressed in the algorithm that way, at least channels like mine. You can say it on CNN or any of these corporate channels. So if I get a little bit creative and colorful with my language, you know, just let me know. I'm sure y'all will pick up what I'm saying. But yeah, I definitely don't want to keep sending billions and billions over to a foreign nation. This can be used to build up not only foundational Black American towns, any impoverished, podunk, non-Black town, Appalachia. I'm America first. So I'm not just here. Let's enrich and enfranchise the Black community who's been demonized, ostracized, and disenfranchised. No, I want to enrich the entire country. I truly want to make America great, right? But it's hard to do that if we just keep finding foreign conflicts to devote time, money, effort, and resources to. When they put boots on the ground, it's not going to be Barron Trump and his offspring. Elon Musk, who loves to say, we need more white babies. That's what Elon Musk says. Do you think any of Elon Musk white babies are going to go fight in any of these pointless wars? I don't want to see a bunch of young men of any racial or ethnic background or creed fighting these pointless wars, especially on behalf of this special chosen country that bears the Star of David, right? Why the flip should my American brothers and sisters go over there and die for some conflict that has nothing to do with us? Iran is not the big bad boogeyman that lunatics like Lindsey Graham has painted them to be. They're the leaders of state-sponsored terrorism. Is Iran currently presiding over a genocide? No, that would be Bibi Satan Yahoo. He's over here slaughtering disproportionately women and children, saying that they were being used as human shields, right? They're worried about one dude in Oakland selling an eighth of weed. That's considered Black culture. But meanwhile, them dropping a bomb on a little girl's school, unaliving hundreds of little girls. Whose culture is that? Who raised the people to be so violent and barbaric that they would kill a bunch of little girls and say, oops, my bad. You know, that's what just happens in war. Collateral damage. You know what I mean? Whose culture is this? We got no business over there in the Middle East. We shouldn't be the world's police. We need to be investing those billions and billions into the American society.
And they I'm sorry.
Okay. So Melanie, for some reason, it just gave me a message. It's saying remove you. I don't know why it's doing that. Mel, yeah, it just gave me a message saying remove you. Mel, I don't know why it did that. Did she say something? I don't know. It just gave me a message like, yeah, remove her. I don't know. Did she say something? Somebody said it was the wig. Stop. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that.
And I got to give a shout out to the big block boat rider, Big Rig Slaps, and the 504 boy, Wode, New Orleans, in the building. So that was that. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to transition. But yes, and actually before I do that, let me bring up why delineation is so important and imperative, right? So let me make this a little bit bigger for y'all. Oops, hold up. That's the wrong screen. Give me one moment. Here it goes right here. Okay. Now let's get into this. Hold on. Let me pull this down real quick and I'll get back to the chat. Oh, damn. Pingu says the Jays got y'all in Australia too. Damn it. Damn, Pingu. You know what, Pingu? Maybe I was a little too hard on you. You know what I mean? Pingu was just over there trying to fight off the J Mafia. I respect it, Pingu. Salute to you, Pingu. Much respect. And it's all love, man. Even if I'm going back and forth, this is all competitive banter. I'm not taking any of it serious. You know what I mean? This is a serious discussion. I'm not taking anything that you said serious. I didn't think you were disrespectful or anything. So shout out to Pingu. I can get a little bit colorful and impassioned with my speech. But yeah, you know, I didn't block you or get you up out of here. So you all good, Pingu. I actually appreciate people giving contrarian views, even if you troll, as long as you're not disrespectful, it's all good. But let me just break down a little bit of this, right? And this is why flat blackness is dead, right? Most people understand black as a race, but race is a very wide category. It groups people by physical traits, not by history. Ethnicity, on the other hand, tells you where people come from, what they experienced, what culture they built. Foundational Black Americans, FBA, has a specific ethnic history tied to U.S. chattel slavery, Jim Crow laws, redlining, and systemic exclusion, a unique culture created under those conditions. You can't immigrate into a lineage and say, hey, I'm black, you black, so suddenly I immigrated into your lineage going through Jim Crow, redlining, U.S. chattel slavery. No one is saying that this lineage is better or worse. I'm saying it is what it is. We can't rewrite the history into something that's more favorable or advantageous to our narrative. The narrative is what it is. And we're not crafting a narrative. We're combating the narratives and framing the discussion around the truth, not around perception and feelings, right? This is not that's not the same as someone whose family immigrated from Jamaica, Nigeria, or Haiti, even if they are all racially black, which is why I brought up earlier saying that, hey, samurai and ninja culture is attributed and accredited to the ethnic Asian Japanese people. Cambodian people are Asian, Thai people are Asian, Vietnamese people are Asian, Filipino people are Asian. It would be disrespectful for them to try to claim samurai culture as their own. Could they partake in the culture? Yeah, anyone has the freedom of expression and the liberty to do so. But just because you partake in a culture doesn't make it your own. It doesn't negate or erase the origins of it. And that's all people are saying when they say that I'm foundational Black American. We're just drawing a line in the sand and putting a stamp and an exclamation point on our lineage. We are just renaming a lineage that has already been prevalent and prominent for centuries. Without delineation, history gets blurred. If you lump everyone into a Black category, you lose accuracy. Imagine if people said all Asians share the same history. That would erase the differences between Japanese people, Filipino people, Cambodian people. It wouldn't make sense because each group has its own history, struggles, and achievements. The same principle is here. Same thing when people call the so-called Native Americans or indigenous. There's no such thing as one big indigenous group or one big Native American. Ask a Choctaw person if they have the same culture as a Cherokee person. And if they say no, then say, hey, but y'all all Native, y'all all indigenous, and see what response you get. Tell a Cherokee person that they're no different than a Navajo and see what response you get. I'm in California. Go to a Samoan person and tell them that they are no different than a Tongan person and see what response you get. Atrocities need a clear subject. If you don't define who experienced something, accountability becomes vague. For example, slavery in America specifically targeted the ancestors of FBAs. Jim Crow laws were enforced on FBAs. Redlining disproportionately affected FBA communities. If everyone just gets labeled as Black suffering, then the specific group that endured it becomes unclear. The responsibility for addressing it becomes diluted, which is why they want to use terms like people of color, marginalized groups, underserved groups, so that they can say, hey, the trans community is underserved. Hey, Latinos are people of color. Hey, gay people are part of the marginalized communities. So even though it's Black people that are going through all of these trials and tribulations, when it's time to dole out the resources, they prefer vague terms. Achievements deserve proper attribution. FBA culture didn't just survive, it shaped America. Things like blues, jazz, hip hop, civil rights frameworks, language, style, and cultural influence. These didn't come from a generic Black identity. They came from a specific ethnic group forged under unique conditions. If everything is labeled broadly as Black culture, then contributions lose their origin, credit gets generalized instead of accurately assigned. And this is the same thing with a bunch of white people, right? Which is why they have terms like Heritage American or Mayflower Americans, because what happens is some white people say, hey, I'm from Sweden, I'm from Scotland, right? And I immigrated here and us white people built this. Like, huh? My family been here for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Your family immigrated here and was able to assimilate into whiteness what other whites helped build, and somehow someone from Slovenia could say they're a heritage American? No, it doesn't even make any sense. Flat Blackness erases identity. When you're calling flat Blackness is when all Black people are treated as one interchangeable group. That leads to cultural blending that ignores origins, misunderstandings about who experienced what, loss of ethnic identity. It's the same reason we don't call all Native Americans the same thing. We recognize distinctions between Navajo Nation, Cherokee Nation, Seminole. Each has its own traditions, history, cultural practices. No one sees this as division. It's seen as respect. We're the only group that told that we have to be one big global generic African Negro. And if you go against that, you're upsetting the apple cart and you're being a divisive xenophobe. This isn't division, it's clarity. A lot of people hear delineation and think separation, but that's not what it is. It's more like the difference between saying European versus Italian or Irish, or African versus Nigerian or Ghanaian. Specificity doesn't divide, it adds accuracy, right? And like I brought up with the jaguar and the leopard, the reason why the comparison is strong because two animals can look similar but have different genetics, environments, and behaviors. If you treat them as the same, you misunderstand both. The same thing happens when you flatten distinct Black ethnic groups into one category, right? So the flat Blackness is dead. And this is going to be the cultural norm going forward. When it comes to lineage, everyone has to hold your own nuts, hold your own filth, hold your own lineage, hold your own achievements and accomplishments, right? So now I'm going to get ready to transition. It looks like we've been joined by another illustrious guest, Vibrant Lowell, the hardest working mod on YouTube in the building. And I don't know what y'all talking about in the chat. So while I'm waiting, I'm gonna have to pull up another video. So just give me uno momento to pull up this video. I'm gonna hit y'all with a quick visual just so I can get this other video. Sit tight if you haven't taken the opportunity to like the video yet. And to be fair, Tucker said FBA are heritage Americans. I would agree. It's just a different term. It's a euphemism. When we say we're foundational heritage, it means the same thing. It's just in order to us not muddy the waters, we came up with foundational American first and heritage American came afterwards, but they essentially mean the same thing. And there are some foundational Black Americans that consider themselves heritage Americans, or they call themselves ethnic Black Americans. Either way, it still is a delineation and a distinction of a different ethnic group. So I appreciate y'all rocking with me. And hold on. You said you gotta fix it. Let me see some. I don't know if you was talking to Big Rig or what, but yeah, let me hit y'all with this quick visual just so I can bring up the other video. Give me uno momento. I'll be right back.
With me. I got the bad niggas envy. You got a bunk bitch, huh? I love when the bad bitches hit me. They love when I'm bagging them 50. They love when I'm grabbing that semi. They love when I'm bagging them 50. They love when I'm grabbing that semi. I got a bad bitch with me. I got the bad niggas envy. You got a bunk bitch, huh? I love when the bad bitches hit me. They love when I'm bagging them 50. They love when I'm grabbing that semi. They love when I'm bagging them 50. They love when I'm grabbing that semi.
I might pull up on your block, whipping a Hemi, gripping and send me. I'm on one cause I've been sipping some Remy. These bitches wanna chew because that pimpin' is in me. It ain't on me and I ain't never been no phony. If I can't get no money with you, then we can't be homies. Ran a few racks up, had to get it by my lonely. I didn't hit it before, now shorty wanna give me some more like Buster. Damn, that ass shake like Jim, that's why I call her Smucker. She just call me daddy every single time I fuck her. Get up in that box and hit it hard, it might rupture. Now she's soaking wet and then she wanted me to ass fuck her. After I eat that pussy up just like the last sub death. I shown so much love, now I don't feel the hate. Yo nigga rap cool, but he's still a fade. I came about the mud and start dealing weight. Now I'm investing in stocks and real estate. My bitch gon' ride for me even if the wheels are break. I be killing shit from the wilderness like a wildebeest. If it's a play to make, I'ma be smashing up quickly. You hit my line, then I decline. I'm bagging up 50s. Easy. And we back at it. So I'm going to transition, right? And in the title, I put illegal and weaponized immigration hurts Americans. And the group that gets hurt the most severe is foundational Black Americans. And before I get into the video, I'm gonna let this Asian person, I'm gonna try to see if I can reach out to her and try to see if I can get her on the show or get her to talk with some foundational Black American. But she does have a lot of content where she calls out her community, but she does it in a constructive way. She's not wagging her fingers that, oh, Asian people are bad. She does it in a way so that people can learn the history and rectify the injustice going on. But before I get into the video, I'm going to see, because somebody asked her, I understand your feelings, but I don't. That's the answer. Oh, actually, that was just a comment. So I don't even know why she was replying to that. But the question is, why are Black Americans struggling to open businesses in their own neighborhood?
Asian American businesses have been operating in Black communities for 60 years. I'll say it again. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, and the United States opened the door to Asian immigration in 1965 to put immigrants in the way of Black people. And this idea that the tension between business owners and customers is one of mutual cultural misunderstanding that could be overcome if they just got to know each other better, the time for that has long passed. And as I've said before, the problem with framing the misunderstanding as mutual is where one demographic owns the businesses and the other demographic has to pay. There's no mutuality. There is a power imbalance. The only situation that I could see being beneficial at this point would require Asian Americans to be willing to leverage their ability to secure the business loans, to secure supplier accounts, and to attain business licenses. Asian American businesses have been operating in Black communities for 60 years. I'll say it again. The Civil Rights Act passed in 1964, and the United States opened the door to Asian immigration in 1965 to put immigrants in the way of Black people. And this idea that the tension between business owners and customers is one of mutual cultural misunderstanding that could be overcome if they just got to know each other better, the time for that has long passed. And as I've said before, the problem with framing the misunderstanding as mutual is where one demographic owns the businesses and the other demographic has to pay. There's no mutuality. There is a power imbalance. The only situation that I could see being beneficial at this point would require Asian Americans to be willing to leverage their ability to secure the business loans, to secure supplier accounts, and to attain business licenses.
Okay, so salute to her for keeping it real, right? But they're not going to do that because they don't want to work with us. Many of them, unfortunately, they love being labeled as the model minority and they want to get closer to the W community. Part of a full assimilation into American society is get as close to you can to white mommy and daddy's booty so you can kiss it and disparage and denigrate Black people. That's part of the hazing process to say, hey, y'all don't like them niggas and we don't either. You know what I mean? So that's what many of them do, unfortunately. Even when they say, hey, we don't want you Asians opening up shop in our business, they'll open them in the Black community and somehow frame the Black community as violent and thuggish. So if we're so violent and thuggish, why the hell would you want to open a business around these savage ruffians, right? So it's all BS. It's all propaganda and a narrative. But I play that to preface the video. This video I will be reacting to is from the Honorable Tim Black. This video you can watch uninterrupted on his channel, the Tim Black channel, and he's titled "The Argument Black Progressive Leaders Are Too Afraid to Make: Mass Immigration Legal, but especially illegal, it hurts Americans, but specifically foundational Black Americans. Now, this isn't to bash immigrants or be xenophobic. I'm a humanitarian. I love people. I think some of the best people in the country are immigrants or come from an immigrant background. Me acknowledging that doesn't mean that we should have open borders, flooding the country with millions and millions, who many of them are going to be dropped into a Black neighborhood to displace that neighborhood and make it no longer Black, make Black people no longer a priority. They're just people there who will be socially and politically extinct when it comes to certain resources and tangibles being allocated, right? Which is going to force us to engage in the group economics that we were doing prior to Reconstruction. However, it's giving other groups a leg up while telling one group that you need to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. If that's the standard, then everyone needs to do that. You can't have someone come over here and say that they're a refugee and there's programs to resettle them. If the standard is that the native population has to pull themselves up by their bootstrap, then so does an immigrant, a refugee, anyone seeking asylum. Why should a non-citizen get preferential treatment for getting their life started? You hear it all the time. They're fleeing gang violence. But then every day people talk about, what about Chicago? What about Oakland? The gang violence in Oakland. Okay, fine. I'm in Oakland. There's gangs and I want to flee the gang violence. Where could I go? Shut up, nigger. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. All right, fine. I'll do that and tell all of these other groups to do the same thing. Hold your own nuts in your own country as well. Let's get into it.
Now I'm going to jump over to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson had a sit down with Tom Homan, the border czar. And some of the things that they talked about, you might be interested in.
We just ended African-American political power, by the way, because of the demographic changes. Just basically made it, both parties have paid, especially Democratic Party, a lot of attention to what Black voters want because they're a huge part of the Democratic coalition. And now that's not true. And so it's not, this is a complicated question. Anyone who says, oh, it's just white racism is, what is your average Black person in Chicago, native born, family been here 300 years? What does he think of watching his city overwhelmed with illegal aliens?
That's exactly what they think. I was up in Chicago last week. I met with hundreds. I met with Black pastors. Black pastors are upset.
Well, they should be upset.
Yeah, they feel like, people who are not supposed to be here, enter the country legally, which is a crime. I'm going to keep talking about that, are getting massive amounts of care, right? Free hotel room, 3 square meals a day, free medical care. And the Black community feels left behind because a lot of these people are, they could use some of that tax money in Chicago to help them.
Of course.
And they're taxpayers. They should have the first chance to get some of that help. But the mayor of Chicago just, he's ignoring his own community. And
this is a democracy. So we make decisions based on population size. And if you dilute the population, you dilute the political power of the people who are born here, very much including Black people. So really, it's a takeover of our government, of our democratic system. And I just want to say it for the third time.
And like I said, I like to hit y'all with the facts because people were saying, they're not taking jobs, immigrants can't get this. And like I said, this is not really about the immigrants. This is about the NGOs and the political establishment who are actively trying to replace and displace foundational Black Americans. When they talk about the great replacement theory, it's not a theory, it's a strategy. Now, Tucker Carlson may get into some bigoted rabbit holes when he talks about the great replacement. But like I said, it's not a theory, it's a strategy. And the strategy is to replace and displace foundational Black Americans, which is why both parties constantly and consistently keep pandering towards Latinos. There's no race called Latino, just like there's no race called Jewish. So how Jewish people were ethnically assimilated into whiteness, many Latinos have been ethnically assimilated into whiteness. People forget, and after the Mexican-American War, 1848, they signed the Treaty of Hidalgo. In that treaty, it allowed many Mexican citizens to become U.S. citizens and to be under the racial classification as white. In 1924, I believe it was the Andrade case, when the Supreme Court challenged it and said, yeah, we tired of you Mexicans. We don't want y'all to be white no more. We'll give y'all your own category, just like the Negroes got their own category. And the Mexican leaders were fervent and vehement, and they said, hell to the no, 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 hell to the no, no, no. We are white. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. LULAC, the League of United Latin American Countries, right? Or whatever the C stands for. They fought and were proud to be fighting to be legally classified as white. So this is why both parties don't really mind flooding the country with Latinos, because many of them are going to check the Latino box and many of them are going to check the white box, and they're going to practice blancamiento, mejoró la raza, have brighter, whiter, lighter babies who will be folded into whiteness, which will continue to make this country a white majority, right? So as y'all can see here, Illinois provides 9,000 in rental assistance to migrants seeking temporary housing. Have any of y'all got $9,000 from the government? Everybody in the chat could use 9,000. See, these types of goodies, giveaways, and guarantees are often not available for native-born citizens. But for migrants, many who came here illegally, the red carpet is rolled out. And this is old. This is an old story. This is not new. This story is from 2023, when Biden was in office. This is just in Illinois. California was doing the same thing, right? So many people came over here and they were giving housing, they were giving food and strollers and all of this stuff. And Black people were saying, we weren't out there saying don't give them that. We were saying if you can give them 9,000, then you can give us 9,000. Realistically, if you're giving a migrant, a non-citizen 9,000, the number should be doubled and tripled for a citizen, right? Otherwise, what is the point of being a citizen? Someone could just cross the border illegally with no citizenship and be entitled to benefits that citizens can't even get. They were trying to force you to get that jabby jabberwocky, and when you said no, people were losing their job. Meanwhile, Biden opened the border that was flooded with millions and millions of migrants. He was flying a bunch of them in, and none of them were required to mandatorily take a shot. So I'm just bringing up the receipts. How does this help us? How does migrants, many of them who were non-Black, the majority of them were Hispanic, how does the majority of Hispanic immigrants being dumped in a Black neighborhood to help displace them, and them giving upwards of $9,000 in rental assistance? Tell me how this is America first again. This is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants, so we have to give thousands and thousands to immigrants, right? How is this pulling yourself up by your bootstraps? Let me know. All right, let's get back into the video.
White racism is. What is your average Black person in Chicago, native born, family been here because of the demographic changes? Just basically.
Yeah, borders are. And some of the things that they talked about, you might be interested in.
We just ended African American.
And like Focus says, in the Army, Mexicans are still white, according to the paperwork. Yeah, because there's no race called Mexican. If you look at Canelo Alvarez, he's a Mexican, but he's a white dude. And there's nothing wrong with being white. I don't know why there's this sudden trepidation
and reticence of people trying to be white. I'm not white. I'm Mexican, bro. You're a white Mexican. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's like pretty much, I mean, they're held as the standard of beauty. They're held as the quintessential Mexican, right? Because there's a bunch of dark Afro Mexicans, but they're not presented as the face of Mexico, right? This is the concept of blancamiento, mejoró la raza, advance the race, improve the race by lightening, brightening, and whitening the race. This is well documented. Like people already know this stuff. And since the inception, well, not the inception of the country, but Mexicans fought to be legally classified as white. So this holds with historical precedents. This shouldn't be offensive. This shouldn't be antagonistic. It's just real. So salute to Focus for stating that fact. Army Mexicans are still white.
American political power, by the way, because of the demographic changes. Just basically made it, both parties have paid, especially Democratic Party, a lot of attention to what black voters want because they're a huge part of the Democratic coalition. And now that's not true. And so it's not.
Yes, I actually have talked about the J Mafia. I covered it. There is a Hasidic Jew neighborhood. I forgot which part of New York. I think there's another Jewish neighborhood in New Jersey. I know some of those neighborhoods, like 90% of the women don't work and they're collecting welfare. So I definitely have talked about it. And, it seems like, unfortunately, many people in our community are the only ones to kind of stand up to the level of bigotry and corruption, because the biggest channel should be talking about this. Tucker Carlson, the Tim Pools, Redacted, these bigger channels should be talking about it, but they dance around and they talk about Israel. They don't frame the discussion around here specific demographics or specific corruption within Jewish society, whether it's Ashkenazi, Sephardic, Hasidic, or whatever. The discussion is always framed around Israel and Zionists. Many of those Hasidic Jews are not Zionists, right? So there's a reluctance of many people in the dominant society to talk about it. And what happens is, if the people with all of the infrastructure and institutional power, if they're too scared to talk about the J Mafia because they have much to lose, well, if black people are, disproportionately shut out from gaining wealth, many people are not going to risk their wealth gaining aspirations to say it's the Jews. Even if it may be the J Mafia, it's like, what do you get out of that? Y'all saw what they did to Kanye or Kanye West. What people defended them. There wasn't wrongs of white people coming to the defense of Kanye West. The only time where they were praising him was because he made a HH song that said, hell, the dude with the funny mustache. And then he said nigga in there. So they were like, oh, look, Kanye made a song that says nigga. So there's a bunch of white people going around praising the dude with the funny mustache saying nigga, pretending as if that's some sort of solidarity with the black community to call us nigga and listen to Kanye West praise the Nazi with the funny mustache, right? So where are all of these high IQs to form Voltron with the foundational black Americans to go up against the J Mafia? They don't. Instead, they hire people, i.e. the Lithuanian J person, Al Jolson, to do blackface. Many of the W's in the dominant society, they work with the J community to help subjugate black people. So when black people are trying to say like, yeah, man, let's form Voltron with the Heritage Americans, but the Heritage Americans is calling us niggers. Funny how the Heritage Americans, they won't call the J's, they won't call them Ikes with a K in front, but they have no issues calling black people niggers. And then now you got bigots like Nick Fuentes saying, we got to put our differences to the side and come together. Why would I come together with you? Because if we come together and we dismantle this J oligarchy, right? You just gonna go right back to calling me a nigger, going right back to thinking that I'm beneath you, going right back to think I'm a sub-Saharan low IQ savage. That's not unity or solidarity. We're not playing these games where we're gonna come together, be people's political doormat and voter mule to advance your agenda, and then you go back to maintaining a racial hierarchy. Yeah, I'm good. Fight your own battles, right? You guys love to talk about, I'm not saying you, Pinku, I'm speaking in general, right? I'm talking about the dominant society who say this land wasn't stolen, it was conquered. Well, why won't you go conquer the J Mafia, right? If they're the ones who are allegedly running amok and running this country into the ground, why haven't the big bad heritage Americans of the dominant society, why haven't y'all conquered the J Mafia that's running amok over society? Instead, they're too busy bending the knee, spreading over and bending over and spreading cheeks for them. Literally anything. What I'm saying now will be considered anti-Semitic. And guess who will come and affirm that? Donald Doofus Trump. He's already paid a bunch of J people millions and millions in reparations just last year alone, because he said Jewish people were victims because some people said globalize the intifada. So black people, you get lynched, debt peonage, sharecropping, redlining, mass incarceration, Iran-Contra dumping drugs in your community, the Highway Commission Act destabilizing your businesses by running highways through, right? You're supposed to get over that, right? But the Jewish people can't get over being said free, free, free Palestine. That's anti-Semitic. Huh? Okay. Let's get back into it.
This is a complicated question. Anyone who says, oh, it's just white racism is, what is your average black person in Chicago, native born, family been here 300 years? What does he think of watching his city overwhelmed with illegal aliens?
That's exactly what they think. I was up in Chicago last week. I met with hundreds. I met with black pastors. Black pastors are upset.
Well, they should be upset.
Yeah, they feel like, people who are not supposed to be here enter the country legally, which is a...
And shout out Focus. I sincerely appreciate the contribution. Focus says, being white is negative social currency. Many liberals claim being Native American to escape punishment for their white privilege while making the working class pay for it. Hey, I salute to you for this supers chat. And I concur. You got people like Pocahontas or Brocahontas, Elizabeth Warren, many people claiming Native American and they look like Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake. Nah, bro, you're not Native American. You're Native European, and you're a $5 Indian whose family paid to get on the Dawes roll, and you become a native now. No one truly believes that the people who are purported to be native now are the true indigenous people. Those tribes have been remixed, wiped out, and colonized so much that you see a bunch of pale people claiming that they're the chiefs of Cherokee, which they are the chiefs of Cherokee, but they're not indigenous by any stretch. There's nothing wrong with being white. And there's nothing really wrong with having white privilege. The issue is lying and saying that you don't have white privilege. If this country was built on the backs of foundational Black Americans and the heritage colonial settlers, right? They were the architects in building this thing too, right? Why wouldn't they have privilege if they were the framers? Now, I'm not saying that, I'm not championing it and saying that, hey, they should be given preferential treatment over everyone else. I'm not saying that I believe in that. I'm saying I understand it, and it's a logical position to take. If we did conquer this place, why wouldn't we want to have some level of privilege in society. Now, many black people accept white people having privilege. The only issue is that some white people lie about it, and then some people want to deny us of privileges. So for instance, let's say they were doling out loans, right? And they gave the white people $1 million in loans, right? And then the black person came and they gave him 750,000. Now, of course, I would want to get $1 million in loans, but I get it, right? But what's happening is they've been giving some white people a loan and then completely denying the black people. So that's why people start having issues with white privilege. I think a lot of people expect white people to have privilege, and you know, I truly don't have an issue with the privilege. The issue is just denying others of privileges, right? If you want to get a white people $1 million and you cut the black people short and only give them 800,000, all right, fine. This is a white Christian nation. I can make it shake with 800,000, but don't give one group something and then completely deny another group and say, pull yourself up by your bootstrap. So me personally, I expect white privilege. I don't really have an issue with the white privilege. I just have an issue with denial of privileges and preferences to other people. And Focus says, us Goyim need to unite against our real enemy. Let us be on the front lines. All FBA needs to do is call our oppressors out instead of allying and covering for them. Well, I think many of us do call them out, and some ally and cover for them, because even though they may be sinister and insidious with what their plot and ploy is, many of them are at least willing to contribute to FBA. Really, the boule, they don't contribute to any grassroots, but the people who ally for them, they're bought and paid off. So they're more or less establishment tools and shields, more so than a representation of FBA. The other people are many of the biblical boule bozos who kind of Bible thump, and they believe that Israel is the chosen place, and they get into some of the religiosity of it. So it's not really about them calling out their oppressors. In their minds, they believe that they're doing God's work and lifting up the chosen people in the chosen land. So that's one faction. Then there's another faction that's just like, don't talk to me about Palestine, Gaza, Israel, or nowhere else. Only talk to me about what's happening on my front step, right? And then there's people on both sides that get paid to bend over and spread cheeks for either party or for either agenda, right? And on top of that, I think the people on the MAGA side, on the right and conservative side, they need to do a better job of ingratiating themselves with black people. Instead, they say, hey, well, y'all don't vote for us, so we don't need you niggers anyways. But like, even if you just wanted to use us as a useful tool to form Voltron to dismantle this J Mafia, you're not going about it the right way. So there is a lot of fault to blame for the clown conservatives and the MAGA morons as well, because they pretend as if they want to unite to destroy this J oligarchy, but they're calling a bunch of black people niggers and talking about George Floyd and BLM. How is that gonna have us Goyim unite against the chosen forces? But overall, your overall premise and message, I do concur with. I'm all for unifying, but we have to unify from a place of strength and a place of truth, right? We can't come in and you can't be holding on to your anti-black delusions and proclivities and still think that we're going to unite. We can't unite to dismantle a oppressive system. And then once the system is dismantled, you go back to calling us niggers and low IQs. Yeah, that it's not going to work. But salute to the Brody Focus. I appreciate you. And now, since Focus is coming in hot with the contributions, I think this would be the right time to hit you.
B-Eazy Dat Dude, he be bringing the vibe. In your leisure, come laugh and show some love every time he goes live. If you're feeling the flow, wanna help him shine, you can drop a little something something, it's support time. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo too, Super Chat, Super Sticker, whatever is convenient for you. Every bit counts, let's keep the good times rolling. B-Eazy's on fire and the crowd's still growing.
Woo, B-Eazy, he is that dude.
So like I said, if you'd like to make a contribution, you can hit your boy up on the Cash App. They won't take 30%. However, I don't mind if you love to leave a super chat, super sticker. All contributions are greatly appreciated. And if you're unable or unwilling to leave a contribution, don't worry. It won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. Let's get back into it.
Crime, I'm going to keep talking about that, are getting massive amounts of
this is a complicated question. Anyone who says, oh, it's just white racism is, what is your average black person in Chicago, native born, family been here 300 years? What does he think of watching his city overwhelmed with illegal aliens? You know,
that's exactly what they think. I was up in Chicago last week. I met with hundreds. I met with black pastors. Black pastors are upset.
Well, they should be upset.
Yeah, they feel like, people who are not supposed to be here, enter the country legally, which is a crime. I'm going to keep talking about that, are getting massive amounts of care, right? Free hotel room, 3 square meals a day, free medical care. And the black community feels left behind because a lot of these people are, they could use some of that tax money in Chicago to help them.
Of course.
And they're taxpayers. They should have the first chance to get some of that help. But the mayor of Chicago just, he's ignoring his own community. And
this is a democracy, so we make decisions based on population size. And if you dilute the population, you dilute the political power of the people who are born here, very much including black people. So really, it's a takeover of our government, of our democratic system. And I just want to say it for the third time, it completely disenfranchises black people. And they're, black leaders in Congress who supposedly speak for black people, they sold them right out, actually, back.
And then
next up,
we're in quite a pickle, Johnson. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit, I'm a little confused here. It seems to me like Tucker Carlson is becoming a bigger black advocate than some black progressives. I don't know how I feel about that. Isn't that weird? So I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, where's this going? When did Tucker Carlson become Malcolm X? Or Claude Anderson? When did that happen? It's weird, right? Tucker Carlson sounds like I'm more in line with Tucker Carlson than I am with, I don't know, Bakari Sellers or Van Lathan on this issue. And I'm wondering, am I being played? I know Dr. Cornell West would say I was being played. He might not say it like that, but he'd say he don't trust it. Ajama Baraka would say I'm a white supremacist because Ajama's a jackass. But here's the thing, Johnson. What about the black families in Philadelphia or in Chicago that Tom Homan said he just went to see who were pissed off? And some of them are pastors. Now, we know pastors are pretty much cozy with the Democratic Party, but unless Homan's a liar, he said some of them are very upset about seeing resources go to people that did not pay into the system. The rebuttal to this? The rebuttal is, well, America's very white supremacist, so whether there are resources there for you or not, black people, you probably weren't going to get them anyway. So you shouldn't be upset that other people are getting them.
Honestly, I've heard that pathetic argument. And Roger, one of your boys used to make that argument. You know what I mean? One of your boys over at RBN used to make that argument. Well, y'all think that if they stop giving the money to the migrants, that they suddenly gonna give it to y'all? That don't even make any sense, bro. First of all, they shouldn't be getting it to begin with because they said that This is a nation and we don't do handouts. You got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Fine. If we all can't get handouts, then nobody will get them. If we all can be equally comfortable, we will all be equally uncomfortable. Not only that, it's just about the certain level of respect. You can't tell a native population that, hey, we don't have nothing for you, right? We can't cash no check. We can't give you any assistance. We can't do anything for you. Figure it out. You're on your own. And then you tell a new group that comes here who aren't even citizens how much you can do for them. When they try to tell this chicanery and say, oh, the black community, they didn't have an agenda. No, people have always presented an agenda. Y'all just ignored the agenda that we put forth. Many of these immigrants, they're not coming over here with an agenda in their back pocket and a list of demands. The NGOs, the elites, the Chamber of Commerce, and the political establishment is telling these people what they need. Hey, you guys don't speak English, so you'll need translators. And they help allocate the resources that facilitate that. Hey, you have a baby, so we'll make sure that you deliver the baby in this nice, safe hospital. They're not pushing them to go to Planned Parenthood. These immigrants, there's a bunch of unaccompanied minors who raise these people. The chicks that are coming over here, many of them, who is keeping track if these kids or if these women are married? No one knows, no one cares. But with the black community, there's an obsession over if kids were born out of wedlock. There's a bunch of women that cross the border unmarried and pop out babies out of wedlock. No one cares because they're non-citizens, right? So there's all sorts of hypocrisy when it comes, and which I call immigrant exceptionalism. And unfortunately, people see the humanity in some immigrants, but when you put that same perspective or that same scenario on a foundational Black American, suddenly no one cares. I'm supposed to care if a dude is fleeing gang violence in Tijuana, but you don't care if there's a gang violence in St. Louis and there's nowhere for that person to flee to. We're Americans. There's no country for us to run to, but we're supposed to just make it so hospitable and welcome for the entire globe to just flee, right? You won't stay in your homeland and fight your people. When people say they're fleeing gang violence, it's people that look like you. You're fleeing gang violence from your own people. And then you're coming over here and cozying up in a foundational Black American neighborhood. And then you won't have the nerves to talk about culture and degeneracy and all this stuff. Okay. It doesn't get any more degenerate than gang violence. Who is more violent, Crips and Bloods or the Mexican cartel, the Colombian cartel? There's a Jewish mafia. There's an Italian mafia, all known for not just violence, organized violence, right? That sounds like culture to me.
Because you weren't going to get them because this is America. So we're not only not supposed to fight to get them.
And we've been joined by an illustrious guest, none other than Lex Les. Lex Les 925, Pittsburgh stand up in building. Salute to Lex glowing. We're gonna call that chocolate glow. Lex got that chocolate glow. Let's get back into it.
We're supposed to be happy about someone else getting them. I'm not happy about that. My argument is we should be upset.
One thing I can say about Focus is that Focus money talks, so at least Focus does contribute, whether we agree with everything, whether we disagree with everything. I know that bro has been supportive. Now, I wish your collective community could be as open-minded and supportive as you, but we got some work to do. But shout out to Focus, because like I said, This is not an echo chamber, so we don't all have to agree with each other. But I can say that Focus has a propensity for supporting. I don't think there's anything insidious or nefarious about the reasons why he supports. I do think that it's genuine, right? People come from different racial backgrounds, different creeds, and we may not all agree on everything, but even if you agree 51% of the time, that's the majority of the time. So rather than fixate on all of the things that we don't agree with, I'd rather build a camaraderie with what we do agree with. So that way, when we do put forth our disagreements, it's done respectfully and constructively. So salute to Focus, because Focus, he's been consistently supportive. So appreciate you for that. And just because someone supports don't mean that we ain't gonna disagree. Don't mean that I won't give you that work. Don't mean that I won't give you that praise, because it's all love here, right? And shout out to Lex. She says thanks and you are welcome. Thank you for sliding through. I appreciate you. Let's get back into it.
Set that someone else is getting them, and we should fight to get them ourselves. It don't matter who got them. I'm not happy about that. My argument is we should be upset that someone else is getting them, and we should fight to get them ourselves. It don't matter who got them. Period. That shouldn't be white supremacists. That's called survival. That's called what we should do. And you know what? I understand there's politics, like Fred Hampton, Black Panther Party, Bird Song and such. I was given a good tutorial today. Here's the thing. It's 2026, not 1967, not 1954. It's 2026. And if you think the same politics of 1965 or 54 or 82 are politics that we should adhere to today, is the best course of action, 60 years later, after voting Democrat for 60 years, I got a question if you know what time it is at all. You're stuck in a time warp. Things should change. Our strategy should change. I know you say our strategy is not changed. As for me, or I know I got labeled a capitalist today, I'm tripping, man, because it's like, no. Black Americans should not sit quietly by and be the footstool of new people coming into the country and be quiet about it. Haven't you heard that the squeaky wheel gets the squeaky? Yeah, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You don't want us to get any oil and be happy and be quiet about it. I'm not getting it. You want to give everybody oil. We're the one that has the rusted wheel. And not only that, we've been still running all this damn time for the country. We are the wheel that's been driving underneath the wagon of America for the past 300, 400 years, and you don't want us to get the oil, and we're supposed to let somebody else who just showed up yesterday get the oil, and we're supposed to be okay with that? And you're trying to convince me that it's selfish, and I'm aligning with white supremacy because I want black people to get some shit. I don't know how to say this any clearer. Let me be direct as possible. New immigrants to come to this country are not coming here to help black people. You don't travel thousands of miles, possibly get gang over here, have your.
And how many times when they put a mic in front of their face, they say, I'm coming here to seek a better life. They don't say I'm coming here to pick the fruit. They don't say I'm coming here to do the jobs that nobody wants to do. And they definitely don't say I'm coming here to uphold civil rights and to unite with black people. They did multiple studies, Duke being one of them, a prestigious university, and it said many immigrants come over here with an anti-black sentiment prior to them getting over here. So there's already anti-blackness in their country. They have an anti-black disposition prior to them coming over here. Then they get dumped in the black neighborhood. Do you think, and then they're giving resources that the black community was denied. And then when the black community are upset and disturbed by that, then they try to frame it as a cultural issue of hatred and xenophobia.
The savings ripped from your pocket to come help black people that you don't know. Particularly coming from a racist ass country. There's a lot of racist Latin American countries that don't even like dark-skinned Guatemalans don't like dark-skinned Guatemalans. Dark-skinned Mexicans don't like dark-skinned Mexicans. Dark-skinned Cubans have a hard time with light-skinned white Cubans. You mean to tell me you want me to believe that because you have this fantasy idea of everyone working together, that all of a sudden these immigrants, when they come here, we're a priority to them? No, they're going to come here and take advantage of white supremacy while we sit here going, take ours. We'll get our gift in heaven. Now, I don't co-sign that fuckery, sir.
And I don't co-sign that fuckery either. And like I said, people like to try to play these games and pretend as if they don't know, or they want you to be naive and not really bring it up, right? You don't have to take my word for it. Duke today. Duke is a prestigious university. Right now, if anybody got a scholarship to go to Duke, you would want to go to Duke. Look on your screen. This was published in 2006, 20 years ago. Y'all see what it says? Latino immigrants, and it's not just them, but they come to the U.S. with negative stereotypes of Black Americans. But we're supposed to be caping for them. I will vote for Donald Trump. So we're supposed to cape for them to come in our neighborhood, displace our neighborhoods in the name of this is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants. If the immigrants could build another nation, why won't they build up their homeland? That's xenophobic. No, it's not. They love their homeland so much. They say that their culture is richer. They have a superior IQ and intellect. Why haven't that superior work ethic been put towards fighting to build up their homeland? Why is that question always framed as xenophobia? Imagine that you have a house. Your house is a pigsty and disgusting. You go to someone else's house and you help them clean it spick and span. And then you say, see, your house wouldn't be clean without me. I'm the one who keeps this house clean. And then I look and say, hey, thanks for helping me clean my house, but you have your own house. Why is your house disgusting? That's xenophobic, huh? Nah, I'm seriously, your house is a shithole. Your house is a hellhole, which why you fled there. But why didn't you try to clean up that shithole? Instead, you went to another place where other people fought and stood on business. Why didn't you stand on business for your homeland? But y'all can read this study. It was published in Duke Today, which is their newspaper. This was 20 years ago. It talks about how Latino immigrants relate to blacks and whites. There's no race called Latino, so the majority of them are going to identify more with whites. Look at it right here. It says it in the first paragraph. Latinos bring negative stereotypes about Black Americans to the U.S. when they immigrate and identify more with whites than blacks, according to a study of the changing political dynamics in the South. So is anyone shocked why James Tallarico won the Latino vote? Jasmine Crash Out Sister Girl Crockett was pandering toward the Latinos. She was doing it very irresponsibly and idiotically. And guess what? They said, I will vote for Tallarico. There's reports that said they wanted to vote for Tallarico because his name sounded Latino. Tallarico, right? His name sounded Latino. So they said, I'm going to use identity politics, right? They were saying Jasmine Crockett lost because of identity politics, because she was doing her sister girl thing. But her identity politics was ineffective because she was pandering towards the Latinos, right? So the research also found that living in the same neighborhoods with Black Americans seems to reinforce rather than reduce negative stereotypes. So guess where they always dump Latinos? In Black neighborhoods. Now, you would think that it would create a Black and brown cohesive unit of solidarity, but it's had an opposite effect. It creates more resentment because they come over here already despising us. Then they despise us because they wanted to live next to white mommy and daddy. And white mommy and daddy said, hell no, we don't want to live next to wetbacks, spics, border hoppers, all of the other derogatory epithets that they said. And instead of getting mad at the community who colonized, destabilized their homeland, who called them wetbacks and spics and beaners, right? Instead, they start calling us niggers and pinche meates when we didn't do shit to them. In the 90s, Oakland was 47% Black. Now it's 17% Black with a bunch of undocumented Latinos. Richmond, California, the same. 47% Black. Now it's 17% Black with a bunch of undocumented Latinos. Bunch of undocumented Latinos acting aesthetically as Black, running around saying nigga, nigga, nigga. I grew up around Blacks, and that's why I said nigga. You grew up around Blacks and you hated Blacks. You grew up around Blacks, and when you went home, your family called them pinche meate chango. So it's just very disrespectful for you to even try to say. And notice that they always say that I grew up around Blacks. That's why I say nigga. They never say I grew up around Blacks and that's why I want to start a business with Blacks. I grew up around Blacks and that's why I want to see them excel. And that's why I started a landscape company with a Black dude. I grew up around Blacks. I want to see them excel. And that's why I started this construction company with a Black dude. It always is, I grew up around Blacks and that's why I say nigga, my nigga. And all I do is hire a bunch of Mexicans, my nigga. Huh? Where's the Black and brown solidarity? And how the fuck does that help us? So I can go on, but y'all can read this story. There's no shock. Latino immigrants, and this pertains to Asian immigrants and African and Caribbean immigrants as well. However, it's more pronounced with these other groups because they want to assimilate to whiteness. So let me pull the rest of this video up and then I'll get ready to shut her down.
Or ma'am, I don't co-sign this. Everyone working together, that all of a sudden these immigrants, when they come here, we're a priority to them. No, they're going to come here and take advantage of white supremacy while we sit here.
So Lex Miss Chocolate Glow says, I personally don't believe in the Black and brown coalition. Yeah, there's nothing to believe in because it doesn't exist. We were the only ones upholding the notion of a Black and brown coalition, but it's also very idiotic because most Black people, most foundational Black Americans are brown. If you look at Lex on the screen, she is exuding the chocolatey glow, right? That's brown. Some would say mahogany. Her skin is not Black, right? So most Black people are brown. So when we say a Black and brown, who are the brown people that people are even talking about? AOC? AOC ain't brown. J-Lo ain't brown. People talk about a Black and brown coalition and then they'll talk about Bad Bunny. What color is Bad Bunny? Surely it's not brown. So if Bad Bunny is not brown, what color is he? Just saying. Let's get back into it. Give me one moment.
Going. Take ours. We'll get our gift in heaven. Now, I don't co-sign that fuckery, sir. Or ma'am, I don't co-sign this doughy sucker. What's the word for it? This degenerate, flaccid, lame, no resistance. It's not working for me. I don't think it works for the majority of Black Americans. We are people that demand justice. You're asking us not to demand justice and to fight for justice for others while we're not getting justice for ourselves. That's crazy. A man's first duty is to his family. And I don't begrudge immigrants who come here for a better life. They're doing what's in their best interest. I myself must also do what's in the best interest of my family. So should you. Why do you think it's in our best interest to make everybody else have a soft landing while we sleep on the rocky, sharp rocks? I'm not getting it. That's crazy talk. Look, I'm not saying that Tucker Carlson is my best friend. He's not. I'm saying I can agree with him on this clip.
You know, this is a democracy, so we make decisions based on population size. And if you dilute the population, you dilute the political power of the people who are born here, very much including Black people. So really, it's a takeover of our government, of our democratic system. And I just want to say it for the third time, it completely disenfranchises Black people.
He sounds more sane than some of you sound. Some of you sound like you've been drinking the Kool-Aid. It doesn't mean I don't respect you or love you, fam. It just means I disagree with you.
All right, had to pause it for that ad, but yeah, go get your gym thing on.
Carlson is probably saying this for political reasons. I'm smart enough to understand that. You know what? I don't give a shit.
You made kind of a provocative comment in your new book here, Mugged, and I think it's on page 151. You write that various groups, feminists, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the Black civil rights experience.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated Blacks like children and many of their policies have been harmful to Blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, I mean, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but that's, or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the Blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for Blacks.
See, this is essentially the problem, and the Republicans
Can I just say, what have we done to the immigrants? We owe Black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country.
If I sit around worried about what people are saying, if they're saying it because they really mean it or they're saying.
And just to be clear, Ann Coulter is a blonde, bigoted bimbo. However, I respect Ann Coulter because she wears her bigotry on the sleeve. Many of these lefty liberal lunatics are more racist, more anti-Black than Ann Coulter, but they want to pretend as if, hey, we're your friend. We care about you. No, while they're actively trying to displace, replace, and disenfranchise you. And what did Ann Coulter say that was wrong? This country doesn't owe immigrants, which is why they keep trying to frame this is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants. So you get desensitized. Well, since this is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants, then we should flood the country with millions and millions of immigrants, right? But all the people that push this line of rhetoric, they don't want the immigrants dropped into their neighborhood. They become NIMBYs, not in my backyard. Guess where they say, here, go drop them where the niggers are. You know what I mean? Let them displace that neighborhood. But then when it spills out into their neighborhoods, then they start crying about the great replacement. They don't care about Blacks being replaced and displaced. It's just only if you infringe upon what the Lily W's perceive as theirs. But no, the country doesn't owe trans people anything. They don't owe immigrants anything, right? Because it wasn't trans people getting lynched, right? There weren't trans people getting dog sicked on them, right? So now, because there's a white dude whose name is Billy Bob, and now he wants to change his name to Barbara Sue, suddenly his plight is the same as a Black dude who descended from an ancestor who was lynched and brutally beaten. It's considered to be the same. Trans people shouldn't be treated inhumanely, but it also shouldn't be conflated with Jim Crow and slavery. People who voluntarily immigrate to the country, there was no gun forced for them. When you put a mic in front of them, they don't say they were forced to come here. They say they chose to come here for seeking a better life. And now we have to pretend that we owe them something because we care about civil rights. Give us your sick, your tired, your poor, and all of this other stuff, right? You have sick, tired, poor, disabled veterans and Native people of the American society. But instead of helping those people, you're reaching out across the globe to say that we need to help these other people. This shit doesn't even make any sense. Michael Pan, who comes on Sabs, doesn't just support reparation, but advocates. Dude is sending me emails all the time about what he's doing to push politicians to embrace reparation. Well, I would say this is my thing. Right now, our focus should be galvanizing the lineage, galvanizing the community, and weeding out the detractors and destroying many of these legacy organizations, the National Action Network, NAACP, all of these buck broken boule factories. I think that's more important than having some white allies, because even if Focus and all these other people are advocating, which I support, and I do think there should be more promulgation and promotion for non-Black allies. Salute to Michael. But what Michael is doing is helping to galvanize us. Are there a bunch of Asians galvanized by what Michael Pan is doing? I don't know. Maybe it will be eventually in the future, but currently not now, because groups don't have allies. They have interests. There are some collective allies that support FBA, our delineation movement, our fight for the justice claim of reparations, anti-Black hate crime bill, and other tangible legislation that specifically uplifts, enriches, and enfranchises our community, right? But I think that it is delusional at this point to think that one person is going to be able to galvanize his community that has decades, if not centuries, of anti-Blackness, right? So this is going to take a concerted effort. Like, so Focus is not just going to have to be Focus. It's going to have to be a coterie of people who think like Focus to start to shift the mindset of the dominant society. It's going to have to be a coterie of people, of Asians that think like Michael, to start to shift what Asians think. If it's just one Asian guy, they start to use language like, oh, you're a pick-me, you're a grifter, etc., etc. Because these other groups, they really don't want to unite with us. Our dysfunction is what is keeping them stabilized. So many people, as much as they try to talk about Black on Black crime and Black people need to do this, and you guys are organized and unfocused, but then if I say, okay, we need to organize, we need to focus, so that means no spending at any of these Asian nail shops. Don't even think about buying a burrito at a taqueria. All money has to be kept in-house. That relies a certain level of discrimination, not because you're hateful, but because it's a survival mechanism. If I see a Hispanic taqueria, I need to actively discriminate against them because my dollars need to be cycled within my community. So I need to go to Jamal down the street who's cooking up plates and spend my money with him. I need to do that every day to pull the resources, because if I go to the Mexican taqueria, then go get your nails done at the Asian nail shop, right? Then you go to an Arab gas station. How was that pulling resources for your community, right? So you may have to carpool, you may have to get a bike, things like that. And I'm just talking about the basics of how you can pull resources. It's going to require you to stop spending with other groups, which people will see as discrimination, which, okay, you can rightly constitute it as that, but it's a survival mechanism more so than a heinous discriminatory practice. And Focus says, I'm trying to fight the J resistance to reparations. They are the ones trying to replace FBA with cheap labor. They also don't want you guys to get reparation because they want that money for them.
For their own selfish motives. I never listen to anything anyone ever says. White, black, Latino, Asian, Native American, or otherwise. You understand what I'm saying?
I know a lot of people like to say they're just doing the jobs that no one wants to do, which is a lie, right? Who's going to pick the fruit? Most immigrants don't pick fruit, and the majority of them that immigrate here, they say they're coming to seek a better life, not seek a better farm to pick fruit on, right? So how it hurts black workers the most. When large numbers of unauthorized, undocumented workers enter low-wage sectors, i.e. construction, hospitality, food service, landscaping, some manufacturing, jobs that we've historically been disproportionately represented in, they increase the supply of workers competing for similar jobs. Basic economics says if supply rises faster than demand, wages and employment for existing workers, i.e., the native population, fall. So around 6 in 10 adult black men have a high school diploma or less and are represented in low skill, low wage jobs. The same argument where the same segment where many unauthorized immigrants work. So if you already have a native population willing to do the work, but you bring in people to do the same low wage work for a lower indentured servant wage, and then you say, hey, y'all don't want to do the job, y'all just lazy, no, I don't want to do it for that indentured servant wage, but if you pay me fairly, of course I would do that job. This is why some economists and commissions have specifically examined the impact on black workers. So this is studied and documented. This is not xenophobia or hatred towards immigrants. Some research and testimony to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights has found that illegal immigration can reduce employment and wages for the least skilled native workers, including black men. In certain cities and industries, effects range from modest to significant, depending on the study and assumptions. Right? So the public service, safety, and neighborhood impacts. Unauthorized immigrants constrain schools, hospitals, and social services in already under-resourced urban areas where many Black Americans live. However, state fiscal studies often find that immigrants, including many unauthorized, pay substantial taxes, sales, property, payroll, and in some cases contribute more in taxes than they receive in services. Some commentators argue that sanctuary city policies and large inflows of unauthorized migrants make Black neighborhoods less safe, pointing to gang activity and high-profile crimes. At the same time, broader criminology research generally finds immigrants overall are not more likely to commit crimes than natives. So where this argument kind of falls flat is that there's a lot of people that get caught for a crime and then they get caught and released. There's many people that move to immigrant enclaves where the crime is centralized and basically people are not ratting on each other, right? But it doesn't mean crime is not taking place. So there are some narratives, there are some retorts to the narratives. Some of the narratives are overblown, but the impact that it has on the foundational Black American community is not overblown or overstated. Otherwise, all of these other communities would be welcoming these migrants with open arms, right? They have a superior culture. They work so much harder. They're better than the Blacks, but suddenly these other groups don't want them in their neighborhood. A Mexican neighborhood doesn't want a bunch of Puerto Ricans over there. They don't mind if Puerto Ricans live there, but they want you to know that this is a Mexican dominated neighborhood, right? They're not calling it a minority neighborhood, a Latino neighborhood, or a person of color neighborhood, right? So again, how does this help us? It doesn't. It helps the political establishment. It helps the oligarchy and the big wigs maintain cheap labor. So I'm going to get ready to shut her down. Hopefully this has been a fruitful stream for y'all. If I do feel inclined, I might peep back in a little bit later, only for a short, brief touch basis. I do appreciate y'all. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. So this is the moment I'm going to get ready to shut her down. So before I get up out of here, hopefully y'all stick around to the end. And if you haven't liked the stream yet, this is the grand opportunity to do so. So stick around to the end, my friend. And also after the stream, leave a comment. You can say, hey, I hated the stream. I love the stream. Leave an emoji, a thumbs up, a black power fist, a fire, 100. That will help boost the algorithm. That will help boost this stream and the algorithm and the channel. I do have a goal that I'm trying to reach of 1,000 subs. So hopefully you can help me reach that goal. I sincerely appreciate y'all. And I'm going to hit y'all like this. Yeah. Hey. B-Eazy Dat Dude, shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. It's a lot of niggas that say they real. To me, that shit is far-fetched. Them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I ride up on them with the 40 ounces. It's a definition of adrenaline rush. What it do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Willow Pass. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow Pass. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. Better zip lips so you get hit when the fifth spit. Flat line in your pit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Goku for the cocaine to go cuckoo. Most these niggas is foo-foo, so I'm shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix on Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on Chirac and then fly back out to Milwaukee. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the drawer is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hit me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the drawer is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
B-Eazy is that dude you already know. For sure, you already know. It's easy to see why he is that dude. He's been a favorite, even if you hating it. Give him his flowers, pay him respect. is a certified legend and one of the best. B-Eazy, B-Eazy, remember the name.
B-Eazy Dat Dude. Oh, you ain't know? That's just B-Eazy, A-A, B-Eazy Dat Dude. B-Eazy, he is that dude. Ooh. B-Eazy Dat Dude, ayy.
He's styling and profiling, fresher than a mannequin.
Hey yo, who's that? Mama, there go that man again.
He the one who get the block booming and make the trap move. I'm still trying to figure out who is that dude.
Oh, you ain't know?
That's just B-Eazy, ayy, B-Eazy that dude. B-Eazy, he is that dude, so you gotta let him cook. He be going dumb off the hook, got all them haters shook. He a king, you a rook, so don't never start tripping, get it twisted or mistook. B-Eazy, tell me how it feel. Ooh, tell me how it feel to be real, to be really that dude. Be-Eazy, B-Eazy, that dude. Ay, 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 that dude. You ain't know. That's just B-Eazy. Ay, ay, that's just B-Eazy, that dude. B-Eazy. Is that dude? You hear me? You feel me? Ooh, ooh. B-Eazy that dude, yeah. B-Eazy. B-Eazy, B-Eazy, he is that dude. Ooh, he is that dude. That dude, B-Eazy, he is the one that you can call so he can get the job done. He about to reign supreme if you thought his run would soon end. He just getting started though, so go ahead and tune in. B-Eazy, B-Eazy, he is that dude. Ooh, 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 he is that dude. B-Eazy, B-Eazy, he is that dude. It's plain and obvious. A certified professional, ain't never been a hobbyist. He is one of the nicest, realest, coldest, and dopest, so you should take notice. Woo! That dude, B-Eazy, that dude, that dude, that dude, B-Eazy, that dude. Show love and support to B-Eazy, that dude.
B-Eazy, B-Eazy. Ooh.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Follow. Be easy. You know you want to.
We're waiting.
If you feel the vibe, like, share, and subscribe. We growing on this journey. Come and take a ride. If you wanna slide with that dude, be easy. We going all the way to the top.